This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to another stunning morning out here on Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sand of South Africa. And we are, of course, as always, extremely excited to take you on your safari live from the middle of the African bush. Good morning, my name is Jamie, and this morning Senzo is on camera with me for the first time in... Neither of us can actually remember when the last time was that we drove together, so we're very excited about that. We're going to go and find wild dogs today. I don't know why I say wild dogs, it's just what I feel like. This morning, we're heading out. Remember, this is a live safari, so hashtag SafariLive on Twitter is how you can get hold of us. Alternatively, you can send your questions and comments through on the YouTube comments section. It is with a heavy heart that we drive this morning, because, of course, Taylor McCurdy leaves our company after this drive. It was very sad. Very, very sad indeed. So this morning we shall celebrate Taylor in the finest way imaginable, which is by finding all the things. That's the plan. I'm going to go down to the southern boundary, see if I can catch up with the Nkuhumas. And absolutely, Paula, wild dogs would be lovely. I have not seen wild dogs for longer even than I have not been on drive with Senzo. I haven't seen a wild dog, literally have not seen one wild dog since May 2017. That is quite unacceptable, I think. I think you'll all agree. That's just not on. So I'm going to drive down the western, sort of the western edge-ish of Djuma, and then down, down to the southern boundary. Right, well, I mean, as productive as my morning has been driving around nattering on issue, Brent has been far more on the ball this morning. He has already found his first cat.
And my first cat is my favorite cat. Hello, little nonsense. Look at him, he's being a nonsense. He's rolling around being full of joy, as I am this morning. But as Jamie said, not so much full of joy because we have lost a valuable member of the team. Madam McCurdy is leaving us this morning, which makes us very sad. But me, Brent Smith, is very happy that I've got my favorite cat to cheer me up. And Hasana, look at him. Hello, nonsense. Oh, he is a wonderful creature. Oh, Sebastian, I apologize profusely for that branch in the way. Let me just roll forward. There we go. Hello, silly cat. There's something very goofy about Hasana. Where are we going? Where are you taking us this morning? Where are we going this morning? And look at his face is very muddy, and that's from him. What are you doing? There's no stomach content to... you're scraping so you can have a number 2. And you can see there's the number 2 face. The concentration is epic. Oh, he is so pretty. We are very spoiled to be able to spend as much time as we do with Hasana. Achoo! 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 I was not taking a picture. I was just sneezing. Tim is saying, is that a hint of a dewlap? Indeed it is, Tim. I've been watching Hasana since I've been back. Oh, let's have a stretch. What are you're mating with the stick, Hasana? I don't have words to describe leopards mating with Tamboti trees. That is a definite first for me. The fornicating feline with a Tamboti. Yes, you should look embarrassed. I forgot to tell you who my cameraman is this morning. It is Sebastian Rombi.
Morning, everyone.
And it's quite exciting to be out here. And I'm definitely going to take every opportunity to spend as much time with Hassan as possible in the next couple of weeks, because I think if he's mating with sticks and he's scent marking, the time is going to come shortly where Tingane is not going to tolerate his presence anymore. Now we're going to send you across to the man who needs all the exercise, and that's why we put him on bushwalk, Tristan Dix.
It's very rich coming from you, Brent Leo Smith, and that little belly that's forming, so I wouldn't talk too much at all. But anyway, it's a good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful start to our day. There is a little bit of cloud, there is a little bit of kind of overcast weather, but it is much, much, much warmer than what it was yesterday, which is really good news. And as Brent mentioned, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got David this morning, and he says hello to all of you. And I hope wherever you are, you're having a wonderful weekend so far. Now, nice to be on foot, because yesterday, obviously, we got a little tiny bit of rain, which is just adding a little bit more, hopefully starting to activate things and starting to get in things like insects and plants and the likes to start kind of coming out and basically being a part of the ecosystem once again after a dry, desolate winter. So I'm hoping that we'll find some of those things. I also want to try and see if because we had so many ellies around, in particular a really big herd that was around the dam cam and the Ingers and the lodge, I want to try and see if we can go and find them and do a nice walk there, and then onwards to the east to go and try and see if we can find any sign of Tundi. So that's going to be the plan for this morning. Hopefully it will work. Hopefully we will get lucky, and hopefully there will be lots happening. It seems like the right kind of time to be out. You know, there's a bit of a break in the clouds, actually, funny enough, so we should get maybe a little bit of sunshine towards the late part of the drive. If you see around this sort of western side, all of that's starting to clear now, which is really good news. So we're kind of starting to see a break, and that should mean that a little bit of sunshine comes out, and a bit of sunshine is obviously always very, very good after a bit of rain. That's what kind of gets the plants to start releasing their leaves, and there's many of the marulas now that are quite sort of foliated, and that's obviously a sign that there's been a bit of rain around and that the trees themselves are realizing that they can start to produce leaves in order to basically capitalize on the longer days and more sunshine, as well as, you know, the rain that theoretically is going to come. So far, not too much. I saw yesterday, funny enough, there was a massive storm in the Johannesburg-Pretoria area, which is to our southwest. I believe that there was even a game of rugby that was completely abandoned due to the fact that there was lightning and torrential rain and hail. And so, you know, it sounds like we might get some rain at some point soon, but not just yet. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get it as far. Now, I thought I saw an ellie all the way across on the other side, but it might just be a termite mound. So I'm just having a little look. You can see from here it drops off down towards Djuma Dam or Gowrie Dam, and then it starts to go up on the other side. Now, as it goes up on the other side, because of how open it is at the moment and how dry it is, you can often see things like ellies and buffalo moving around through these thickets. So I wonder if it was an ellie that I saw, or if it was just a termite mound. Might be just a termite mound. Right, we're going to head off in that direction anyway. We're going to try to see what we can find. While we do that, though, let's send you back across to, well, Mr. Leo Smith and Hosanna.
Well, Tristan can mock my belly. At least I have a small one. He is a belly. But now we can't move because Hosanna is right behind the car. I'm just waiting for him to move a little bit further away. Okay, he's moved far enough away that I can actually move the vehicle. Sebastian, I'm not going to hit the aerial. There we go. So there's no sign of his Inyala kill. I'm pretty sure he's decimated it all. And it looks like he's going to take us on a wander. I'm just going to shoot around to the front of him quickly in the direction that our little chief is wandering. Now, I spoke about it a little bit on Bushwalk yesterday morning, that a lot of people take a young male leopard for granted. But a young male leopard is, and I've worked at lots of lodges, and a young male leopard, oh, but it's not the dominant male, it's not a female, so they tend to spend less time looking for the young males. I, on the other hand, will choose a young male leopard over any leopard any day of the week. They're busy, they're entertaining, they're absolutely gorgeous. As they get older and the dewlap develops, they become impressive individuals, but they just don't have the character or attitude that a young male has. Okay, I'm going to reverse a bit, Seb. Where are you off to, our little chief? You might go have a little drink at Gallego Pad. Oh, he is an absolutely gorgeous boy. But we're going to stick with the little chief, and while he's wandering around, planning where he's going to go next, let's send you across to Jamie, who's got a gorgeous view of the horizon.
From a gorgeous leopard to a gorgeous view, I just had to stop and take in the sight in front of me, and I thought we should share it with all of you. Sensor making it look absolutely beautiful through the eyes of his camera. How's that? The cold front has blown through. I don't think we're going to get any more rain anytime soon, but just look at that low-lying cloud across to the west of us. And in the background, there is a crested barbet trilling away happily. There's actually lots of birds. Let me just go quiet for a moment. You can enjoy this. Lovely. That is a truly Instagram-worthy moment. I, of course, have been put in charge of the company's Instagram, which is a terrible idea because I have no idea how these funny, newfangled stories work. I've so far failed dismally to contribute anything of any particular meaning. I'm aware that social media is incredibly important. I just haven't the faintest clue as how to use it. I need to get one of the kids to teach me how it works. Although I hear all the kids these days use something called Snapchat, which has also escaped me. Oh, those mountains! My word! Oh, Kirsty tells me Snapchat's time has passed. That makes me feel even older. I'm not even that old. Look at the sun rising over that, just touching the mountain. Okay, apparently Snapchat is now outdated. Goodness me. Came and went without me even knowing what it was. The tip of the Drakensberg mountain range, which cuts all the way up from our southeastern corner of the country, almost, right the way up to where we are in the northwestern corner. No, I got that the wrong way around. Southwestern, northeastern corner of the country is where it stops. So that is the end, I suppose you could say, of the Dragon's Tail. A truly spectacular mountain range. And if you ever happen to find yourself in this area, I would strongly recommend going up to the top of the highest point out here, which is Mariepskop, where apparently on a clear day, which today is promising to be, you can see all the way to the sea, despite the fact that we are really quite far away from the sea. definitely go and pay a visit to Mariepskorp. Fascinating ecosystems. Fynbos right at the top. An almost rainforest type setup. I don't know if setup is the right word. About the sort of middle band of it. Mist forest. Beautiful place. Oh, I'm glad everyone really enjoyed that. That was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. That actually took my breath away. That was so beautiful. Okay, we're going to search for dogs and hukumuri because I have never seen hukumuri. Alternatively, we're going to try and find Tlalamba. I'm actually just leaving all my options open. We'll find what we find. Let's put it that way. Senzo's chilly. He's wrapped up in a purple and white blanket. That's quite the blanket you've got, actually. I'm a little bit jealous. I mean, I know I've got my fancy Kenyan scarf, but that blanket is something else. Nope. No tracks of the hook coming in. So off we go. Apparently the Nkuhumas were hunting buffalo yesterday. They were hungry when we left them. And I actually need Tristan's help here because he showed me the video of them hunting the buffalo. And I have no idea whether or not they were successful. So without any further ado, let us go across to Tristan and find out whether or not he knows if the Nkuhumas caught themselves a meal.
Well, as far as I know, I actually don't know, to be honest, 100% sure, but it seems like the buffalo got away. But what we're busy doing now is we're busy... Can you hear that? Now, we're listening to a grey-headed bushshrike that's calling and making that beautiful sound that they make. It's one of the reasons why they get a name in Afrikaans. Now, David, if you come this way, I've got a view of this bushshrike. Now, hopefully it will sit still. But there it is, straight through the gap here, David. You see on that open branch? There, it just flew now, but maybe we'll get a brief view of it. They're very tricky birds to actually get on camera because they tend to be a little bit shy and move around quite a bit. They don't like to really get seen all that often, but it's bouncing around sort of in the top of this tree at the moment. There's a branch that goes out to the right-hand side at the back end of this shackleberry, and it's sitting on that branch over there. And it's just flown once again. It seems like poor David, every time he gets a view on it, it then bounces off and kind of goes in a different direction. It's not a very easy bird, like I say, to get on camera. It also has a coloration that really blends in with the canopy of a tree. It's kind of that yellowy green, and in light like we've got this morning, it is really quite tricky to actually be able to see it. So poor David is having an absolutely tricky time in being able to actually find this bird. Now, I'm trying to find it now myself. I've also lost it. But you guys can hear it, which is very cool. It's one of my favorite calls we get out here, and there'll be a lot of calling. Rosemary, you say it sounds like a wagon wheel swing. Now, David, I don't think that's the bushshrike that's calling. There it is there, David, out in the open. So straight through behind us, or behind that tree. It's now in the more sort of open tree at the moment. Now it's bouncing around all over the place. Poor David is being sent back and forth trying to find it. Birding on foot with a camera is not that easy, and David's doing the best he can to try and get it, but now that it's in a more open tree, I'm hoping that I'll be able to find it quicker for David. There it is, right in the middle of this sort of dead tree. It's bouncing around in a bird party. There, yes, right at the back, David, somewhere in there. But like I say, a beautiful, beautiful bird. So a lot of you are making jokes that it sounds like a car or a truck reversing. It does a little bit, doesn't it? If it was a little bit more kind of frequent and rapid, it most definitely would. And I suppose when you kind of think about it, it does actually get that kind of sound to it. Now, I believe you have a good visual of it, which is quite nice. We did have a good visual, yes. Like I say, bushshrikes don't sit still for very long at all. They're one of those birds that are very tricky in terms of following. But well done, David. David persisted there, and he was managed to at least get us one view of it. It's like in here now, flying kind of down the drainage line further on, and we'll hear a lot of them and the orange-breasted bushshrikes at this time of the year. It's obviously coming into that time where birds are all going to start nesting, and so we're going to start seeing a lot more calling, well, not seeing, but hearing a lot more calling to be able to kind of, birds to attract one another in order to start getting the nests done and to start actually laying eggs as summer starts to arrive. Quite looking forward, and I hope after this kind of windy, cool weather that we had, that maybe, just maybe, we'll start to see more of our cuckoo species that will arrive, you know, so hopefully we'll start to hear classes and Diedrich and Jacobin and Levalence very shortly. It's around that time of the year now where we should start to hear it, and after a little bit of rain and a kind of bit of a storm, often they do arrive. And the other thing that's always good about weather like this, particularly when you get high winds like we had yesterday or the night before, is you often get birds blown off course, and so sometimes you can get quite rare things appear out of nowhere. In fact, there was a rare bird that was seen in Mala Mala, when was it? I would say about 3-4 days ago. There was a Caspian plover that was seen there, which, as far as I know, must be one of the first records for the Sabi Sands. I don't think anybody else has had a Caspian plover as yet. So, you know, nice to see, and storms and weather like this often brings about those kind of birds. So birds that are maybe migrating to our east offshore, slightly get blown in because of these big high winds that come through, and you get these kind of rarities for a day or two, and then they go. So who knows, maybe today we find something special. I know that Brent Leo Smith will try and kind of compete for anything, and so if we can get a bird over him today, that will be quite good. I think it will be quite fun. So speaking of Brent, Carol, you want to know if Brent is pregnant. Yes, he is expecting. Brent has got what is known as a food and beverage baby. And so his food and beverage baby is growing at a rate of knots. It's a hungry creature that it just keeps going and sucking up more and more and more. And he's really starting to fill out quite nicely. In fact, I don't tell him, but I've decided for Christmas I'm going to buy him some maternity pants so that they stretch a little bit, so that when he can walk around, he doesn't have to feel too bad about his pants getting a little tighter as he goes. Also, you know, we'll try and see if we can get him some looser shirts and a jacket that actually zips up, because those ones that he's got are starting to get a little tight around the middle. So that's what we'll try and get for Brent Leo Smith. But yes, his food baby is going well. When it will be delivered, well, Brent has kept it a kind of secret as to when the due date is and when that's actually all going to come out. But for now, he's really kind of growing nicely, and is a glowing, you know, he's glowing under this pregnancy period, and really has kind of taken to motherly nurturing very well. Now, talking about the mother-to-be and the glowingness, let's send you across to Brent Leo Smith and the little chief.
Tristan, I might have a beverage belly, but everything about you is fat, including your legs. That's why we need to put you on bushwalk more often than everyone else. Tristan is about this much shorter than me, but he weighs about this much more than me. I think he weighs more than 10 kilos more than I do, even though I'm quite a bit taller than he is. But the little chief is on the move. This is in his favorite drainage line. For now, it is his favorite. How's that, Seb? So even though he's eaten a couple of baby inyalas in the last day or two, he is definitely not completely full, and he is on the hunt this morning. There's that dopey face. Oh, Thana. You can see, even though I said he's definitely eaten something, well, we know he's eaten that baby inyala, but he's by no means sated. Excuse me for a second. Go ahead, Tax. Can hear all the squirrels. Oh, quickly. Look at that. Oh, orange-breasted bushshrike. That is really special. We don't often see them out in the open.
Oh, he was there. Okay, he's gone now.
He's gone. That's awesome. Orange-breasted bushshrike, one of my favorite birds in the Sabi Sands. Now, I think when Tristan's back in a vehicle, we need to have a proper birding competition again. And we can teach Tristan the difference between a golden pipit and a yellow-throated longclaw. Oh!
Yeah.
It just saw Hasana. Little scrub hare. To the right. You come wide a little bit, Seb. There. He went into that thicket there, but he's disappeared. A little scrub hare. Go ahead, Tax. He's still moving. At the moment, he's opposite Michelskaya, but heading sort of south towards Western Edge Quarantine. But at the moment, we're almost at the power lines. Look at that tail. Yeah, Tax, just come down the power lines. Look at that tail. Norman is talking about Hasana fornicating with the Timbuiti tree and wondering, is it a sign of maturity? Well, he started to scent mark. Well, how old's Hasana now? Nearly 3. In February he'll be 3, I think. Yes. He was born on the 2nd of Feb 2016. Was it 16 or 17? No, 16. So he's over 3 now. So if it was, oh, what year are we in? I don't even know. Are we 2018 or 2017? I'm not sure. 18. So he's over 3 already. So yes, it is a sign that he's maturing. He started to scent mark as well. I think the big thing is if he starts sawing or trying to get lucky with some of Tingana's ladies, I think we might see a very different reaction from Tingana. Oh, what's he heard? There's a lot of duiker in this area. We know how Hasana likes a duiker. Now, he's about to go, as you can see, through quite a few little... So he's going to be 4 in February next year. Oh no, we are very spoiled to still have him. I thought he was still 2. I didn't realize he was over 3 already. I did, but I didn't. I just tried to pretend Hasana's still a couple of inches long in a little cub. I'm very happy to have him because I do miss his sister. His sister was my favorite, but now he's my favorite because we haven't seen his sister in a long time. I know Jamie's favorite leopard is Tandy. I'm trying to think. My favorite female is probably Nkanyeni at the moment. She's also got a cub. Unfortunately, she just seems to work in areas where we don't have much coverage at the moment. Well, not work, she lives in areas where we don't have much coverage. Okay, I've got to do some roundy because he has spotted something. He looks like he is on the stalk, but I can't go through there. So I've got to go round. So while I get ourselves in a good position, let's go see where Jamie's off to next.
I am potentially following a lion track. Hold on. This is the first track I've seen. I'm very excited. I mean, Tundi is my favorite leopard, hands down, but at this point I'd settle for anything. There we go. Oh, can you see it there, Sense? It is beautifully positioned in... That's it. That's it. Nailed it. Sorry, it was in an awkward place. There we go. A lion track that looks fresh to me, but someone's driven over it. Sorry, I've made a critical error here. It's not Senzo's camera, it's Jamie with her foot on the brake. There we go. That was not Senzo's camera work. Sorry, dude. So, one lion track coming onto Djuma. Where are the rest of them, and where are these lions? Because this looks like, I mean, the size of it, if I jump out very quickly, without completely ruining Senzo's shot, where are the rest of them, and just how fresh is this? The problem is that it's been raining, so the tracks actually hold their shape for longer. The only thing is, it seems to be on top of the hippo's track. So what I'm doing, and I actually said I'd talk about this and then forgot completely. If I stand next to the track, it's a great way of trying to gauge exactly how fresh a track is, because you can see how clear the outline is of my shoe print. So if you're not sure with a particular soil type or substrate, you can always step next to a track and have a look at how clear the outline is. And by doing that, I can tell you that this track is not as fresh as I thought it was. It's starting to fray a bit around the edges. You can see there's the 3 lobes at the back for our new viewers. How do I know it's a lion track? Simply because of the size. So cat tracks all have 3 lobes at the back like this. Hyenas and dogs have 2. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. And about the size of, or just a little bit smaller than my hand length. So a lion, but unfortunately, as excited as I was, I think it's the Nkuhumas from yesterday. Yesterday or 2 nights ago, when they were moving through Djuma and moving upwards and downwards around here. Okay, well, it was a nice moment of hopefulness for a second. It's okay, we can just go to the hyena den. I'm not too stressed. I just wanted to do a quick boundary patrol. Make sure I'm not missing something coming onto Djuma. Oh, it's going to be a beautiful morning. Maxie, you say thank you and that you loved that tracking lesson. I think we might have to rethink my tracking lesson though, because there's more coming out. I just want to double check. I'm just going to jump out and see if these tracks are on top of vehicle tracks. So while I figure out where these lions are going and what they were up to, let's join Brent, who has spotted an antelope that perhaps Hosanna might like to catch.
Well, we now know what Hosanna has spotted. It is a little herd of Inyala. And there's a couple of youngsters amongst them, and Hosanna seems to be making his money on eating baby Inyala at the moment. The last 2 kills I've seen him with has been baby Inyala. Wait, oh, I think I see him. Seb? Okay, so a little bit more to the left.
Show me on the monitor.
There we go. There we go. There he is. He's been spotted though.
Yeah.
There he is. Hosanna, you silly boy. Someone saw you. I heard a bark, but I can't see which Inyala is barking, because these Inyala are looking straight at us.
Yeah.
I think it's an Inyala on the other side, because these Inyala are unsure what the other Inyala are barking at. I don't think it's him who's barking.
Oh, it's this one, yeah, I think.
There we go. You can see that Inyala is focused on where our little chief is. So, there we go. That's the Inyala that is spotted Hasana. Young male. The rest of the Inyala herd don't seem to believe him, though. They're carrying on very relaxed. There's a little boy. I do love the little chevrons on an Inyala's face. Look how pretty they are. Now, I've got a question for all of you. Where in Africa can you find wildebeest that also have white chevrons on their nose? Hashtag SafariLive if you know the answer. Where in Africa can you find wildebeest with white chevrons on their nose? Hashtag SafariLive. What's he doing? Can you still see him?
No. Yeah, I can actually, no.
I think you're in a...
Somewhere...
There he is.
Yeah. No?
Liz says she's never heard a Inyala bark before. And, of course, that Inyala is letting all other Inyala and Impala and everything know that there is a leopard about. Though I still think that most of the other Inyala don't believe him. You can see the saliva. Kalina says Zimbabwe. No, Kalina. Zimbabwe is not the answer to where you have wildebeest with white chevrons on their nose. Eddie, Namibia is not correct either. Well done, Dr. Hyena. Dr. Hyena, you are correct. Southern Tanzania, northern Mozambique, and eastern Malawi and... I'm just trying to remember. Eastern Malawi, yes. You'll get the Nyasa wildebeest that has white chevrons across their nose. Now, I've been fortunate enough to see quite a few Nyasa wildebeest in my days. Physically, a bit smaller than the wildebeest we get here in the Sabi Sands or the Mara, because they live in Miombo woodland, and the grazing is not as good, but they are particularly pretty, the Nyasa wildebeest with that white chevron, as well as their body seems to be quite a bit more brindled, so dark stripes through their body. So well done, Dr. Hyena. Most people don't even know that there's a subspecies of wildebeest that have white chevrons on their nose. And there we can see the bottom jaw of a ruminant working hard. Oh, there we go. Down goes the bolus. So there, we're not the only people enjoying ourselves around Hasana. There are some game drive vehicles, so you might hear them speaking behind us. Oh, there we go. Did you see that? So we saw a bolus go down. Now we've just seen a bolus come up. So of course that is already eaten vegetable matter that Inyala has swallowed. It's now brought it up again to make sure it gets the most out of the nutrients that it can. Oh, down. Let's see. We're going to get another one up. Are we ready? Oh no, only half of it went down. Oh, down. Now we get up. Come on, come on. 1, 2, 3. Up. Nyala's not listening to me. Come on. Next bolus. There we go. Whoop. Up. So Hasana is playing the patience game. He's got his patience pants on. I can't see him. I think I can see him. I think he's still in the exact same spot. That male Inyala is death staring. But it almost looks like he doesn't believe himself anymore. Because Hasana hasn't moved, he's kept very still. It's like, did I actually see a leopard? Or did I eat too many hallucinogenic plants last night? Well, that young male Inyala tries to decide if he ate too many morning glories and is seeing leopards everywhere, or he possibly actually saw a leopard. Let's go across to Jamie, who's trying to figure out where the lions went.
I said I had to rethink my tracking lesson. The reason being is that there's old tracks and then there's new tracks, which is wonderful because there's actually tracks of the entire pride, probably the Nkuhumas, coming up here. So if I do this for you for a second, you can see times have got a little bit confusing. Just have a look at this mishmash of lion prints in the road. Okay, so now there's some going back to the south, some going to the north. This is very inconsiderate of them. They've been pacing up and down here. Why? Just listen for a second. There's tracks absolutely everywhere. And they were being followed by a hyena. Problem with these tracks is they're not fresh like from this morning. They're fresh from last night. You can hear a pearl-spotted owl or owlet. Beautiful tracks in this nice wet soil. Lovely to look at. It'd be a lot lovelier if there were lions around them. But they've paced up and down the stretch of road, going off to the side. Didn't look like they were lying down though. Lying down, haha. Hilarious. Let's just go check the junction up ahead. I've spoken to Rex. He suggests they might come and give us a hand. Paula, I do have a favourite lion pride. On Djuma, it is unequivocally the Nkuhumas. And that's purely, it's not because they are better than the other prides, it's not because they are they're underdogs or anything like that. It's just because I've spent the most time with them and therefore have a particular soft spot for them, those particular lions. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, so the lions did not, oh they did come this way. Now I have a real soft spot for the Nkuhumas because we've watched them go through their transition with the arrival of the Birminghams, and then of course now with the Avocas. Right, I'm going to focus a little bit, and I'm not being terribly exciting because I'm staring at the road. Let's go to Tristan, for whom tracking might be slightly easier.
Well, yes, I mean, tracking will be a little bit easier this morning. We were just actually discussing it, that, you know, after a bit of rain, tracking can become a lot easier right in the beginning in the morning, but it starts to get harder as the day goes. If the sun starts to peer out, it becomes really very, very tricky. And we were talking about how tracks can be much easier, and maybe this is a good example to show you guys what we're talking about. Now, over here, we have a very, very old lion track that is in this area, and you can see that this track itself does not look fresh at all, and there's many reasons why. The edges of the track have been completely washed by the rain itself and wind, and so you've got sand particles all in it. It's not very defined at all, and there's even a little bit of pitting from the rain itself. So as the rain fell yesterday, it's left little small sort of dots all over the track. In comparison, if we look at Rexon's track where he walked, if you have a look on the edges of this track, you'll notice, let me get a little stick or something that I can show you guys what I mean, but if you look on the edges here, look at how defined those edges and ridges have become. So those are perfectly defined, and inside this track where there's this sort of smooth part of his shoe, you can notice that there is absolutely no pitting at all. It is smooth and almost glossy, and that gives you the knowledge that this was done quite sort of early this morning, or now, as we know, but it would be a good indication. So if this was an animal track, we'd know that this would be quite fresh. So tracking after a bit of rain can often be quite a lot easier. The problem comes later when it starts to get warm. This all bakes rock hard, and it becomes very tricky to track things like soft-hoofed animals, and maybe not, you know, Rexon obviously with the shoe print is a lot easier because you've got lots of ridges and it's very, very long, and so it generally catches some soft soil at some point. But, you know, it would be a bit tricky a little bit later on. So what we're looking for this morning is we're trying to look for anything like this. You'll also notice at the back end of the shoe print, as he's kind of come along, wetter sand has been displaced, and this sort of makes a much darker sort of print, and that will be what we're looking for as we're walking. And that everything that walks out here that has walked sort of in this period will have this marking to it, and we have a little bit of more darkness to the track than the surrounding soils, and so that's what we're going to be looking for. Jamie says she has tracks for Pride Alliance kind of coming up Cheetah Cut Line, and so we're going to try and see if we can help her out. I mean, we're not that far from where she is, so we're going to try and give her a hand in that area, see what we can do. In the meantime, though, let's send you back to her and see how it's going on her side.
Trista, I don't know how to break this to you, but I mean, I would really appreciate your help in all aspects of life, but maybe not with finding the lions, because they're lying right next to the road. So, surprise! There they are. I guess the tracks were slightly fresher than I thought, or perhaps they've spent quite a bit of time lying around here. The reason I said that they were from earlier this evening, or yesterday evening, was because, of course, the hyenas had walked all over them. They're looking a little better than when I last saw them. They are now slightly more well-fed. Still not a massive meal. I don't think they caught that buffalo that we saw the video of them hunting. Oh, I'm having the James Hendry effect. And we're right on the eastern boundary of Djuma towards Torchwood. They've eaten something, but it's not a big buffalo. I suppose with this many lions, it's to be expected that most meals don't go very far. There's a young male, I think it's one of the young Mangeni males off to the left there, lying on the road. So it looks like they've rejoined them. I think it's one of them. I hope it's one of the Mangeni males. It is, must be. With that amount of mange, it must be one of those boys. So he's here, lying slightly separate from the pride. And it's so fascinating how they've decided to link up with these lionesses, and the fact that the lionesses have tolerated their presence. It goes to show that lions throw the rule book right out of the window. They really do. I wanted to reposition to go around so we could get them all nicely backlit, but the way that he's lying, I think he'll get a bit of a fright if I do that. Christina, you would like a head count of Inkahumas because, of course, the last time we saw them, there were only 8 and there should be 11. I can only see... Let me duck down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, wait. I can't count. I can't see if there's 2 lions behind one of the bushes or... Brent doesn't know what year it is, and I can't count to 8. We're doing really well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 8. Thanks, Kirst. Kirst tells me that after 8 comes 9. It's very much appreciated. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I suppose I actually don't need to count that high, because there are only 8 Nkuhumas. The same number as we saw 2 days ago. But I'm still very happy to catch up with them. I don't know exactly how they were separated from the other 3. I'm not sure exactly of the details because it happened just before I came back to work. I suspect that it was perhaps just something that we've seen often happen with the Nkuhumas, whether they moved away from males or they were separated during a hunt and haven't found each other yet. Nothing to be too concerned about for now. They'll reunite. They always do. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to tell the... Oh, he's sorted. I was going to tell the other vehicle to move his way around, but he's there. Looking scratched up, that lion. Lots of scars around her face. Tina, I know exactly what you mean. It's actually, I think, one of the best parts of a lion. All parts of a lion are beautiful, but Adina says that they love the long chin hairs on a lion. Basically, sort of a beard, essentially. They all have beards, even the lionesses, and I agree with you. You sort of want to go and, I mean, not that you ever would, for it would be utterly foolish, but you sort of want to go and tickle that hair. Run your fingers through it like you would a cat. That would be a terrible idea because they are, of course, wild animals, and they would be deeply upset by your attention. Oh, at least they're looking better in terms of food. What's up with that one's lip? I'm going to break the rules because I have no idea what that name was. It was something cat. Was it Chele cat? Cheetah cat? What was that? I'm sorry. Tuna. Oh, I completely misheard that. Tuna Cat says that none of the cats follow the rules in the Sabi Sand. It makes it fun to watch. I know it also makes us feel, that the cats have it in for us. Because we immediately say one thing and they immediately contradict us. And you're right, that is the fun. That is the fun part, because none of us know everything there is to know, and we are constantly being surprised by the curveballs that nature seems to throw. So absolutely, the cats don't follow the rules. That's of course because we don't know all the rules as well. But animals like to take the rule book and throw it out of the window, do things that are unexpected. Usually, when we've said they're going to do the opposite, that's usually when they do that. Oh, proper grooming session. Something wrong with that one in front's mouth, on the left-hand side of its jaw. I can't see it now. I'll have to try and keep an eye on it. Perhaps during that buffalo hunt. It's a dangerous undertaking, even for a lion pride of this size, and with their experience. Buffalo are still capable of causing serious injury. That's so sweet. They're basically grooming in unison. The best back scratches. Look at it using its incisors there to get to a proper itchy point. Across the top of the shoulder blades. Oh, One of them has just very kindly released a cloud of gas in our direction. Good, means they've eaten. Also means they're quite smelly. Kathy, I haven't seen that female. So Kathy's asking about the female with the big sore or injury on her hip. It has slowly healed over the past few months. I don't know exactly what caused it. I'm not sure if there's any theories about how she got it. I was, of course, in the Mara at that point. But I didn't see her 2 days ago, and I don't see her now. She could be here. She could be one of the ones lying down flat, in which case I wouldn't be able to see her. But I don't think so, because I don't think she was with the Pride or with this group of 8 when I last found them. So I don't think she's here. Apparently you haven't seen her in a while. Presumably she's with the 2 other missing Nkuhumas. You'll have to keep a watch out for her. I haven't seen Amber Eyes, but she must be in here. Paula, it's possible that 3 of them could have broken away to form their own Pride, but it's unlikely. I don't see why they necessarily would. And the Pride is not yet it's not all that large. 11 is not an enormous number for a lion Pride. Prides can get much larger than that. So I don't see why they would have split off. It's possible that they're mating somewhere. It's possible that they've gone off to have cubs, although I don't think so. I don't think any pregnancies have been noticed. So it's difficult. It would be pure conjecture on our part to try and guess where they've gone, where they are now. Perhaps they object to the presence of the Mangeni males. I can only see one of them. I don't know where the other one is. I can only see one Mangeni male. No, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what happened to cause their split. As I said, I was on leave. Maybe Tristan can give us further details. I'm not sure if he knows either. I don't see Amber Eyes. I didn't see her the other day. You think it's... she'll have to look at me. No, I don't think so. She's got the very hairy chin. I think that was how Nikki always identified her. Furry beard. Okay. We're going to sit with these lions, see what they get up to next. It's still cool. They could still be moving. The same applies, of course, to Hosanna.
Gee, hello, Goofy. Oh dear, then Yana spotted you. Now you're just going to have to close your eyes and nap. Now, I'm confident he's going to move again, so that's why I'm sticking with him. It almost looks like he's he's meditating. Now you can see he's taking long, deep breaths rather than the short, shallow breaths he would take if he had a very full tummy. It helps aid the sort of meditation vibe with his eyes closed. Now, of course, Hosanna doesn't meditate. I am only joking. But I was talking about Nyasa wildebeest. So I went and found a picture I took many years ago in southern Tanzania of the Nyasa wildebeest, and you can see the white chevron across their nose. And as I said, lots of sort of dark coloured stripes on their body, even though he's standing in a bit of shade. But that is a Nyasa wildebeest. Subspecies of wildebeest. Now, of course, we're lucky because we see 2 different subspecies of wildebeest almost every day. Well, we can. The southern blue wildebeest, and then the white-bearded gnu back in Kenya. That forms part of the migration. Now, Hosanna is having a snooze. Well, Hosanna's snoozing. We're going to send you across to Tristan, who needs all the exercise decks on foot with elephants.
Yes, yes, Brent, once again, making all the jokes in the world that aren't really that funny. Anyway, we're still here, we're sitting in, and you'll notice that my voice is a little bit more hushed than it was earlier. And that's because we've just come across the ellies that we were looking for, kind of tracking them down, and then bumped into them. We can't see them nicely at the moment. It looks like we're on the back end of the herd, so there's one little calf with its mother, and I don't see too many others around just yet. The tracks indicate we're following quite a big herd, so I'd imagine the rest are here. We just kind of, as trailing often goes, have bumped into the back end. So what I'm going to try to do is we're going to try to get us a slightly better view as they disappear through the thicket. We've got a nice little kind of blocked sort of section between us and them, so we're going to try and just kind of slowly cover this open ground. Always important when kind of doing approaches like this is to take into account what's going on, particularly with a herd animal like ellies. Always check, especially when you're on across open ground, because you're going to become very visible. Just check that there isn't others that are lurking, particularly in elephants, musk bulls that could be following, or bulls in general that could be around. And what we're going to do is just try and get a little bit closer. Maybe if David can come into this little gap here. There's a nice little gap on one of the young bulls that's straight through, so not very close at the moment, and we'll obviously try and reposition ourselves. We just came across them right now, and so still just trying to work out which way they're actually going in order to get us into a better position. Ideally, what I would like to do is to try and get around them and just to get in front and then find ourselves a really good spot, like a termite mound, and then just sit quietly and wait for them to come. But you can see they're unaware of our presence at all at the moment. We kind of just came out of a drainage line and they were just on top, which is really, really cool. So we should have an epic morning with them. It's been so wonderful to have ellies back. Obviously, all of us have been kind of reveling in the fact that we've been able to walk ellies quite a lot. It's one of my absolute favorite things to do, and I suppose a little bit bittersweet this morning to be doing an elephant walk. I know this is one of Taylor's favorite things, and it's very sad that she's obviously left us. I'm sad that I didn't get to do one more drive with her, but you know, we'll try and dedicate our elephant walk this morning to Taylor and to her kind of leaving. And I believe she had a good ellie sighting yesterday, and that would have made her very, very happy. I know she loves ellies, and so hopefully we'll have a good morning walk to kind of celebrate Taylor's time at Wild Earth. But essentially, you'll see that these ellies at the moment are just kind of casually feeding. They're going along slowly about their business. No idea that we're here. And this is the idea of walks, is to try and get into these areas, try and view these animals on foot, but also then to try and leave without them really knowing. And so that will be deemed a successful walk, and that's what we're going to try and aim for this morning. This is just the kind of initial sort of bumping into them and working out exactly what they're going to be up to and where they're going to go. So hopefully we'll be able to get ourselves into a better position and to try and see things a little bit more clearly. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie and the Nkuhuma Pride.
Speaking of getting into a better position, the Mangeni male just tried to go a little bit closer towards the rest of the pride, and the two lionesses over there started snarling at him and growling. At for one moment, I actually thought one of them was going to fly across in his direction. So even if he is spending time with them in a sort of desperate search of company or hope of company, I don't think they have welcomed him with open arms or open paws, as it may be. So I mentioned that there's one Mangeni male. There were two of them. There was also apparently, I obviously didn't see this, but apparently there was another male with the Nkuhumas as well. Now, I don't know if he's with the rest of the missing Pride members. I have no idea. I'm just listening to the radio for a second, because I think at some point we might have to leave them and then come back a little bit later just to make space for some of the other vehicles. I mean, it's fascinating to watch these young males act on pure instinct. They've gone off. Lions are social cats. They've gone off in search of company. They're still young. They're not quite old enough to be on their own. They've found company, and of course the Nkuhumas have one young male in their pride. Now that young male's chances of success increase dramatically if he's able to make friends. And I think that's what's happening with these young males hanging around the pride. If I were to guess, I would say it was something similar to what Kipuli did in the Mara. He joined up with the Sausage Tree Pride because they had 2 young males almost at independence, and then he formed his own coalition and off they went. And I think that that is what's happening here. The boys are hoping for an additional supplement to their numbers. Oregon Way, it's a possibility that they know that he is not well. I mean, animals do have an instinct for that sort of thing, and let's face it, he doesn't look well. Watching him walk across the road, his walk is stiff, his gait is stiff. He doesn't look well. And I confess to being a little bit concerned about the missing member, or the missing male. He didn't look... I've only seen the footage from the last sight with him, which was with Brent on Tuesday, but he didn't look fantastic. He looked very thin. Even if he had a roundish belly, he still looked very, very thin. Shame, guys. It is all part of the natural process. The Nkuhumas have had mange in the past, and we were deeply concerned for a while, and they all managed to fight it off and ended up looking very, very healthy. The good news, of course, is that the rainy season is on its way. And as soon as the rainy season starts, mange all but disappears. Now, it sticks around a little bit, but it's certainly not nearly as prevalent as it is during the dry season. It's natural. It's part of the dry season process. Lynn, it didn't look like he'd eaten, but then I don't know when he joined up with this particular, or with the Nkuhumas. So Lynn's wondering if they perhaps would let him feed at a kill. I think so, if it were a big kill. I think if it was something small, he might not be in with a shot. But if it were a big kill, I think they'd probably let him feed. There have been some strange things happening. Stories of lion prides, 2 different lion prides sharing a kill. So it's not a big stretch to imagine that they might let him feed. He might have to wait his turn. See, he's at that interesting age. He's bigger than the lionesses now, but he's younger, so he doesn't have the psychological advantage over the adults. Oh, shame. He just wanted to go and cuddle them. He was not welcome. I feel sorry for him. He's not gone through an easy time. Nature can be phenomenally cruel when it wants to be, and in this case, that's exactly what's happened. I'm not saying that the other male isn't alive. It's entirely possible that he is. I'm a little bit concerned that he's not here. Shame. The thing is that it's better for the lionesses to be standoffish, especially if they were to have new cubs. That's not something that they want to expose those cubs to. Apparently lots of you are curious as to where the young male is. I haven't seen him. And then he wasn't with the group at the pan the other night. I didn't see him. I mean, look, they were very flat and then they were very mobile in a very short space of time. So perhaps I missed him, but I don't think I saw him. So I don't think he's here. Either that means he's one of the... I mean, it does mean that he's one of the missing 3. And perhaps he's with that other mystery male that joined up as well. I mean, it's absolute chaos. We're going to have to start drawing diagrams again to try and keep track. The theory was, that he was a young Torchwood male. Senzo says he can hear a lion calling. Let me just be quiet for a moment. Actually, let me clarify. It isn't a young Torchwood male that joined up with him. Was it Torchwood or Tallow? No, it was Torchwood. was hoping they might call in response, but that is one of the Avoca males calling at Jacana in Buffelshoek. No, it's way too far away for you guys to be able to hear, and the Nkuhumas are not going to respond to those males yet. Fluffy chin. She's relaxed, but she's still keeping an eye on him. Right, all of that explanation that I gave, because I was distracted by the lion calling, was about as clear as mud. The young male that joined them was not a Torchwood male, even though that was initially who he was suspected to be. There we go. Just had to complete that sentence. Don't know who he is, though. I'm not sure if that's been clarified, or if he is a mystery. So I don't think the young Nkuhuma male's here. There is a puddle of lions lying behind a log. Now, normally I would have repositioned so that we could go and see them, but I don't want to scare the Mangen male. He's sort of lying in our way. I'm sure he'd be perfectly relaxed. He is, after all, from an area where there's lots of safari vehicles. But I think what we'll do is just settle and wait. Wait it out. See if we can see him a bit later. Right, it seems to be bedtime for the big cats as the rains roll back in from the east. Hosanna is sleeping off a meal.
He is very much asleep. You can't even see his head anymore because he's put it behind a log. Our lazy little chief. Oh, I can hear a bushshrike. You hear that? I can hear the beak snap of a grey-headed bushshrike. And it's close to where Hosanna is. There he is. Okay. Oh, I can see him, Seb. I don't know if you can. So, go through that little gap there. To the tree behind. Up a little bit.
See movement there.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, he's flown. Oh, he's gone up a bit into that. There he is. Grey-headed bushshrike. Oh, he's giving Seb a hard time. Oh, one of the most exquisite birds we get here in the Sabi Sands. And apparently Tristan's also seen one today. But I love that beak snap before he does that. Basically, it's just of the beak before he calls. Now, Hosanna is being very lazy. I think Sebastian Rombi and myself are going to do a little wander around and then come back to him a bit later. Hopefully, Hosanna will be a little bit more active. So we're going to go see what's happening towards the western sections of Djuma. While we do that, it seems like Tristan has still with some great grey beasts who are nearly as fat as he is.
Well, we are still with the Ellies. The Ellies are not that far away from where we are. We're just sitting ever so quietly and just waiting for them to see which way they go. We've gotten right around them at the moment, and they slowly but surely should be heading roughly towards where we are. But we've put ourselves in quite a nice spot at the moment. We don't have to stress too much where we are. We don't look like we're really out kind of on a safe spot. But actually what's happened is there's a little kind of ridge on the bank of a drainage line, so there's a steep drop right below us here. So even if Ellies had to come right into the drainage line, the chance of them getting up here is almost zero. Here they come now. Look, you see they're starting to come. Now, David, what we're going to maybe have to do if they get very close is go a little bit lower. For now, we're okay, but they're slowly but surely moving, and we can hear Ellies all over the place. So it's not just these guys. There's a much bigger grouping that sounds like it's just to our south at the moment. You can hear the babies shouting and screaming for milk, as well as you can hear the feeding behind us, but we should be in a really good spot just to sit nice and quietly and wait for these guys to come past. So, David, let's get a little bit lower. You are going to have a few branches in your way, I'm afraid, but it's going to be better in the long run because the Ellies theoretically should come nice and close, and so we're going to get nice and low down, and this should be really amazing. Look, we've got one of the little ones coming straight towards us. How cool is this? So it's always incredible to be on foot with Ellies and to try and get things right. And I must be honest, Rexon's probably one of the best when it comes to getting into positions to watch elephant herds. Some of my most memorable walks have been with Rexon, and I always trust him, you know, to the 100th kind of degree that he will know exactly where to take us. And it's always important for any younger guides that are out there is that you always listen to those that have a lot of experience around you and kind of liaise with one another as to what you want to try and achieve and where you want to try and go. And generally, if you've got somebody that's very experienced, they'll often kind of get you into a really kind of epic spot like this. And so we really are fortunate to work with guys like Opie and Rex. They get us into fantastic positions to be able to view Ellies at distances like this, which is absolutely unbelievable. I can't tell you how kind of it feels to be around these guys. You know that they are massive animals, and when you're on foot and you're sitting down like this, there's something about it that I just can't quite describe. It's an experience that, you know, when I used to guide, I used to try and do this as much as possible with guests, to try and kind of get them on foot and to try and appreciate just how much more of a kind of feeling there is when big things like Ellies are moving around you, and to be able to just be in the bush and as quiet as possible and hear them feeding and moving about. It's absolutely incredible. Now, because these kind of things are super special, I think we're going to take this to a wider audience so that everybody can, well, join us for this Ellie experience. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a gloomy kind of day here in the Kruger National Park. It is a bit overcast, but that doesn't mean that we're not having the most epic morning that is possible. My name is Tristan, and on camera I've got David this morning, and we're sitting on foot with a small group of Ellies that are very, very close by, which is absolutely amazing. Now, it is interactive, so we would like to hear from all of you. You can send any questions or comments in the sort of comment section below, and we'll try and answer as many as possible. The reason why you hear that I'm quite hushed tone is because viewing things like elephants on foot can be quite dangerous, and you obviously don't want the Ellies to get too upset that you're around and to kind of worry that you're here. And so we're just trying to keep our voices down so that they can move past us without having any sort of worry that we're even here. And so we've tried to get ourselves into a really nice position where we can sit and we can watch these guys come about. It really is amazing. Now look, you see their trunks are up. So their trunks are going up into the air a little bit, and that's because they're sniffing. There's a slight breeze that's picked up all of a sudden. It's been a very still morning. We haven't had too much wind at all, but all of a sudden there's a bit of a breeze that's picked up, and it's blowing kind of from our left to our right. And so these Ellies, I think, are just getting a little bit of a scent that we're around, but we're quite safe where we are, even though they're so close. You can see I'm sitting, and we're on a very steep bank that goes down into a little riverbed in front of us. And so even if these Ellies come down, there's no way they can really get to where we are. So we're going to sit quietly, and this should be an absolutely epic experience. Now, the idea of doing these kind of things on foot is to be able to view the animals without disturbing them. And so far, these guys, you can see just by the way that this little one is walking, and even the moms, they're busy feeding at the moment. They're not stressed about our presence at all, which is really the way that it should be, and hopefully will allow them to kind of pass by, and then we're going to move off Jameen, you say this is breathtaking. Well, Jameen, I can promise you it doesn't get any better than this. Now, I'm just going to slowly turn so that I can see where they are. Now, you'll see that they'll put their trunks up every now and then just to have a little bit of a sniff to try and see what is going on and make sure. So, Tracy, you say you love that you can see an elephant in Africa in real time. Well, Tracy, it's one of the best parts of our job, is that we get to show you guys the most amazing things from Africa, and we get to interact with you, which is very, very cool. So we have the largest kind of safari vehicle or walk that goes out every single day, which is really quite wonderful. So I'm glad that you've joined us, and I'm glad that you're loving seeing these Ellies. It's absolutely special to be on foot with Ellies at this distance that we're at. So, Ellen, do the Ellies know that we're here? No, not really. So, they're picking up a scent of us every now and then, but they don't really know where we are, and that's why we're sitting nice and low. You see that we've got this tree in front of me, so this little raisin bush here is just protecting our sort of outline a little bit and making it harder for those Ellies to see us. So the fact that we're quiet, the wind is not gusting too much, and that we're low down means that we can get very, very close to them. The distance that we're at the moment, I would say, is probably maybe 25 meters, not even actually 20 meters would probably be my guess as to how close they are, which is kind of as close as I would really kind of want the Ellies to get. I mean, if they did come down a little bit further, it's okay, as long as we just stay nice and quiet and allow them to move. The general direction that they're moving, and why we put ourselves here, is that they were kind of moving from my left to my right, towards this kind of drainage line. So we put ourselves here so that they would hopefully just bypass us a little bit on our sort of northern side at the moment, and that would mean that they would come quite close but then move off away from us. And so that's exactly what's happening at the moment. But before they do that, they obviously are going to feed their way along, and it's the kind of cool conditions like this where Ellies will do a lot of feeding, particularly in areas where there's not too much shade, because generally when it's very hot, it's difficult for Ellies to feed into these kind of areas because they get very warm. They've got to control their body temperature, whereas this morning it's so kind of overcast and cool that allows them the opportunity to be able to feed right out in the open. And so they're going to take their time, and it's amazing because Ellies at this distance, if they knew you were here, would immediately stop feeding, whereas these guys are completely relaxed and are still having a good sort of breakfast. But this has been absolutely special. Hopefully all of you have absolutely loved being with us on this walk. I know I have, and so from David and myself, we'll hopefully see you all next time. Isn't this absolutely special? We're going to carry on sitting here and enjoying our Ellies, and while we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie and, well, part of the Nkuhuma Pride.
Sorry, naturally that was amazing timing. I just need to speak to one of the landowners. Never mind. We're sorted. Abel has helped us out. Anyway, so I thought that we'd found the missing male for a moment, but it turned out that there's 3 hyenas lying up probably about 20 meters, give or take, from where these lions are. I'll take you to see them in a little bit, but there's 3 hyenas lying over there. I don't know if they perhaps did have a small kill here. That would all make sense, because it would explain the hyena tracks on top of their tracks. It would explain why they're still around here when their tracks that I was following were from last night. So it's quite possible they did have a kill somewhere around here. Something small-ish, small enough that it is now gone. Oh, millipede! Look at the slightly to the left there, sends of that lion. Just to the left of him. There. There we go. Inching his way. Look out, millipede. No. Wrong way. Minamu, I'll answer that in 1 second. Morning, Bernie, and welcome to join me. It's hilarious. I was trying to respond to poor Bernie, and everyone was so busy telling him that I was live and that I wasn't listening to my Game Drive radio that I couldn't get a word in edgeways. Right, Minamu, you want to know how lions actually contract mange, or how it's spread. So remember that mange is basically a reaction to mites digging into the animal's skin. So those mites will occasionally get scratched off or drop off, and around about the area that they're lying in, or possibly because lions are such social cats, they could just transfer some of those mites by rubbing excuse me, rubbing up against each other. So it is really very, very contagious, and it spreads most quickly between animals that are social in nature. So there's certain animals that are more susceptible to it than others, lions being one of them. Hyenas hardly ever contract mange. In fact, I don't think I've ever heard of a hyena having mange. I've certainly never seen one. Kudu, jackal, those sorts of animals, very common to see them with mange. Warthog, you don't really see it. So it depends on the animal, but social creatures are more likely to suffer from it. And it makes sense, because it's easier for the mange to spread and to multiply. And even though their life cycles are quite short of those mites, they obviously have the perfect host when it comes to a lion pride. Shame, my boy. That millipede. I want to see if this millipede actually crawls over the lion, because it is making a beeline for it. Oh, I think it stopped to munch on some decaying vegetable matter. In other words, fallen leaves. For that is what they feed on. Ooh. Inching closer. Be careful, millipede. We've had all sorts of things bump into lions. We've had the mouse that ran through a lion sighting. We've had the tortoise that... Since, have you ever seen the footage of that tortoise? This tiny tortoise came strolling into a lion sighting, but it was so small that I don't think it actually registered that it walked straight into a lion, and it literally walked into her, and she just rolled over and lay on it for a while. And then she rolled over again. This poor tortoise, probably traumatized for life, then scuttled off as fast as its little tortoise legs could carry it. It was hysterical. I was convinced, because at that stage, I remember we actually had a few sightings with the lions eating tortoises. And in that case, I really was convinced this poor little tortoise was going to be a lion's equivalent of a crunchy snack. Perhaps opening a can of Pringles or something. And they didn't. They didn't even notice it. It somehow managed to escape unscathed. Then there was the chameleon on the lion's mane. There's just all sorts of interesting sightings that we've had. And right now, this millipede it's actually changed course. I'm a bit can I confess to being slightly disappointed? I wanted to see what would happen. But it's changed its mind. Oh, Murphy, really? You know, we took the roofs off this morning, and it's raining. That was not a good call on our part. Okay. Oh, that's a very interesting discovery. Apparently, Brent has found even more cats for you on this cat-filled morning.
Well, it looks like we have an Avoca male with possibly one of the missing Nkahuma females. We can't see who it is. They are just to the north of us in Buffelshoek. We're right on the boundary at the moment, but they might be mating. I'm pretty sure they actually are, so I think it's worth sticking it out here for a little bit and seeing what they get up to next. Now, these boys have grown immensely since I last saw them in May, and you can see the manes properly starting to take shape at the moment. And it is actually getting colder.
For sure.
Seb and I were chatting about it, and we had a bit of a laugh because most people at SafariLive, presenter-wise, are midgets, and they have to sit on a pile of blankets just to reach the steering wheel. I, on the other hand, have to take all the blankets off, which means, unlike everyone else, I get to use the blanket as a blanket, not a cushion on the chair. So I get to wrap myself up nice and warm, whereas everyone else has to sit on the blankets so they can just drive the vehicle. Now remember, if you have any questions for us, hashtag SafariLive. Now, apparently a lot of you are wondering whether it's amber eyes. I can tell you it's a lioness. That's about the only thing I can confirm at the moment. While she is flat like that, it is very difficult for me to tell you which lioness. It is a very, very, very strong possibility that it could be amber eyes. Now, she had cubs. Did she lose her cubs? Seb, you've been here longer.
Yeah.
She's lost her cubs. So it is a very strong possibility that it is amber eyes, and she is now mating with one of the evokers to make sure that her next set of cubs will hopefully survive. We've been here for about 5 minutes. In theory, I say, they mate every 10 to 15 minutes. So hopefully, if they are mating, they will get up and move quite soon. And if we're lucky, they'll move across the northern boundary into Djuma. So we are probably directly opposite the dam cam now. Aegis is wondering, would the evokers chase off those two mangy Mungen males? They wouldn't just chase them. If they managed to get hold of them, they would kill them. Two young males are only possible competition for the evoker males. So if they could get hold of those males, they would actually kill them and to remove them completely from the scenario. Now, I can't remember, did Jamie have those mangy males with the Nkuhumas this morning, Kirsten? So one of the mangy males is with the Nkuhuma pride. That's very, very interesting. But yes, Aegis, if the evokers got hold of one of those mangy males, they would definitely try kill them. We're going to sit here for a little bit longer. Hopefully they decide to get busy and give us some Sunday morning lovin'. And while we wait for them to do that, let's send you back to Trist, who's still with Ellie's on foot.
Indeed, I am still with the Ellies, and we are having the most magical sighting. They are within 20 meters of where we are sitting at the moment, completely oblivious to our presence, which is, well, quite spectacular, and it really is a surreal kind of experience to sit with these gentle giants in this kind of gloomy weather and have them just basically across a little riverbed from where we are. It really is very, very, very special, and it's amazing because we can hear every little noise that they're making, from branches breaking to them even opening and closing their mouth. And so I think what I'm going to do is just sit quietly for a little bit so that you guys can hear it and kind of feel what it's like just to be in amongst them with no noise whatsoever. Isn't that beautifully peaceful? Now you can see one is going to come very, very, very close. And I'm going to keep quiet because it is extremely close. close. This is so special. It's amazing. That is as good as it ever gets when it comes to elephants. Now, I'm not talking too much because this ellie is, I would say, now enclosing up on less than 10 meters from us and is feeding right at the base of our feet, basically. This is extraordinary. Now, a lot of you are saying that this is both wonderful and a little bit nerve-wracking and that we need to be careful. Well, we're being as careful as we possibly can be. Ultimately, this ellie can't really get to us. It would be a very big effort for this elephant to get to us, and that generally means that they would rather not, so they'd rather just kind of move off than actually come too close. And it's also, there's a very steep bank here. There's no way an elephant can climb to where I am. The only way it would get to us is if it went all the way around. But look, it's trying to smell me. There's a bit of wind that's blowing now, and so it's trying to kind of pick up its trunk and work out where we are and what we're doing. And it's not 100% sure what's going on. It knows there's something around but can't figure out exactly where it is, and so that's why it's kind of just scenting the air and stopped so close. But it is amazing. I absolutely love doing walks like this. It's one of my absolute kind of favorite things to do. Now you'll see this ellie's just going to come past. See, it's just come down to the bottom of the bank. Now we're just going to make a little bit of a noise because we don't want it to get too close. Okay. So it's always important when eddies get close like this is to not make a sound that is intimidating to them. It's just a slight little shuffle on the soil to let that elephant know that. Okay. Yes, I can see you. You can see me. All okay. So all I did was make a noise on the ground, so I just moved my feet quite loudly. And basically what I'm trying to do is not to alert this elephant that there is kind of danger. I'm just trying to say to it that I am here. You can decide what you want to do before it gets too close and it doesn't really have space to go where it wants to go. So you can see now, on its own accord, it's decided I'm going to slowly kind of back off, go back to where the herd is, and kind of work out what's going on. So when you get close to ellies, it's important not to make a loud sound and start clapping and making a lot of noise, because that frightens them, and their response to that is to be super aggressive. Whereas in this situation, just a slight scuff on the ground, it lets them know that something's there and that they are kind of encroaching on their space, on your space, and then they'll go back to being normal. You can see this ellie, even though it trumpeted at us, is now already gone back to feeding, which could be a bit of displacement behavior. It might just be doing this to kind of keep an eye on me at the moment, but they do kind of, yes, exactly, displacement behavior at its best. They'll pretend like they're really eating a lot, but they're actually more just trying to watch us while they're doing it and just see what we're actually trying to get up to. See how the trunk is still smelling us, even though it's eating? Now, I believe a lot of you are in awe of this sighting. Well, I can promise you right now there is really very little in this world that is like this. I've done many things in my life and been fortunate to have experienced a lot and even gone through a lot of kind of things that supposedly give people an attention, or a thrill kind of ride, but there is, for me, very, very little that matches being this far from a wild elephant and being able to watch it go about its business. I think it's possibly one of the best things that you can do. There is something about it that just will touch your most inner part of you, and there's a feeling that I can't really describe. Sometimes your heart will just stop slightly as this kind of animal approaches, and you sort of lose the ability to actually even express what you're kind of feeling. And it's one of those things that I wish that every single one of you that watches this show, because if you're watching this, then you definitely have an interest in nature for you to experience at some point in your life. It is quite something being opposite an elephant at 5 meters, sitting on a mound in a misty, rainy morning, watching them go about their business. It is really quite a special experience. And obviously things like this, I would not recommend this to many people in terms of just going out and doing this. Please, if you are not with a highly qualified guide, then do not do these kind of things, because these kind of things can get very dangerous very quickly. And we've got to be a little bit kind of careful of what's going on. But with guys like Rex, and obviously I've done my fair share of walks as well, the two of us can kind of work out where is going to be safe. But it really is a very special thing. And look at this Ellie. This Ellie's now completely relaxed again. So a little kind of trumpet just to tell me that it knows I'm here. I know it's there. And now it's gone back to feeding, which is very cool. So, I mean, it's feeding, like I say, what do you reckon, David? 5 meters? 5 meters in front of us, which is absolutely special. And like I say, it's not every day that you get walks like this, and we really are kind of spoilt. Now, it sounds like Brent's lions might be ready to do something, so let's quickly send you across to them, and we'll carry on enjoying these Ellies.
Okay, so they are on the move, and they are moving towards us. We can try see whether it is Amber Eyes or not now. We can't see her face. Let me go forward. Sorry, Seb. They've obviously just trying to do it in the worst possible position for us. So definitely mating. We still can't tell you which lioness it is.
So it looks like it's the limping male.
Yeah, it's definitely the limping male. We're just try to get a gap for the female. Not in the best spot for us, as I say. We're right on the northern boundary. I think, how's that, Seb? Better?
Yeah.
Not really. Not really better.
No. She's not putting her head up.
We can't see which female it is. It's definitely a Voca, and he's eaten something in the last couple of days. Oh, he is pretty. You can see the bottom of his mane is starting to darken. He's going to flop now. Come on, lift your head. As I said, it could very possibly be Amber Eyes. Oh my goodness. Let's have a look.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. There's a wall of water coming towards us. And literally when we started this morning, the skies were clear. You can see the rain coming. Okay, I'm going to have to move away from the lines for a little bit to put on my rain covers. Let's just go down the road. Not going to move far. Just out of sight. Okay, well, we've got about 15 minutes before they get busy again. So while we go put on our rain covers, let's send you across to Jamie and the rest of the Nkuhuma Pride.
I didn't realize it was an Nkuhuma that was part of that mating pair. That's good news. That's the 9th member accounted for, if it is her. It is raining here, and we will shortly have to do what Brent has had to do. Oh, okay, apparently it's not confirmed. All right. We will have to do what Brent has had to do, which is put our rain covers on. I just wanted to show you the lions for a little bit, and then to take you to see the hyenas, because I haven't shown you them yet. And I was quite convinced when I first saw them that it was the second missing Mangain male. can't believe it's raining again. I mean, we had a full-on debate this morning about whether or not it was going to rain again, and the fact that we could see the sun rising and clear patches of sky really convinced us that we were done with this drizzle. It's nice for this area because, as you might have noticed, and I should have addressed this earlier but I completely forgot to, you'll see that the lions are lying in a burnt patch. Now that is because they're lying on a fire break, and especially at this time of year the risk of runaway fires is quite high. It's quite hot and quite windy, well, usually. So what people do is they burn a strip of, quite a wide strip, in this case it's about 100 meters in width, quite a wide strip along certain roads, along certain cut lines, and that's literally to stop fire from jumping across. So it makes it that much more difficult for it to do so. And it's only really if there were some serious winds that a fire would be able to jump this. So that's why the lions are lying on this burnt patch. Lions like burnt patches. Most animals like burnt patches. And because we've had this little bit of rain, in about, I would say, 2-3 days, we're going to start to see bright, fresh green shoots growing up around these burnt areas, because they've burned south along Gowrie Main as well. And the animals love it. It is their absolute best. So just in case you're wondering about why they're in a sort of a charcoaly patch of ground, that's why. Nice and open for them as well. Means they don't have to lie in the scratchy grass. I need to reposition, but I'm really worried about that poor millipede. I moved next to it when I repositioned after the male moved away, and now I'm slightly concerned that it's under my car somewhere. It is, I can see it. It's under my under the back tire. I'm going to have to do some careful maneuvering to show you these hyenas. This poor millipede, what a day it's having. First it walks into a lion, then it walks into my car. Okay. And then if I do a little maneuver like this, then we should be good. Oh, oh, oh. Alive and well. Right between my tire tracks. Can you see it there, Sense?
Yeah, I can see.
There we go. Alive and well. That was delicate maneuvering on my part. There you go. See? All is well. I mean, might be a little shocked, but otherwise it's fine. Okay, let me show you these hyenas. Moving on from the adventurous millipede. The thrill seeker of the morning. Once Brent puts his rain covers on, I need to do the same. It was down this way, yes it was. There they are. I don't know what these lions ate, but it obviously attracted the attention of the hyenas. Here we go. I think if I go too much closer, they might run. No, we're good, we're good, we're good. No, we're not good. Okay, I'll stop here. There you go. 1, 2, 3. Senzo's stuck under his rain cover. You're right there. All lying in pretty much identical postures or positions. That's the word I was looking for. We got there eventually. Moved through the P section of the dictionary. Okay, I need to go and put my rain covers on very quickly, which means I've got to drive away from these lions temporarily. So while we do that, let's go and join Tristan and see how he feels about the drizzly morning.
Well, Jamie, the drizzly morning couldn't have come at a more inconvenient time for us, because putting on rain covers when there's elephants 5 kind of meters from you on foot is tantamount to doing a open heart surgery in the 1940s. It really wasn't very easy at all, but Rexon and David skillfully managed to get covers on without even disturbing these ellies for 1 second, which is quite something. So we're still sitting with our ellies. They're still close, which is absolutely epic, but we are all kind of covered up now. And so we're good to go and to carry on. Now, basically what happened was the cheeky sort of younger or middle-sized elephant that we had with us, it kind of moved off, and the little baby came right down towards us to come and investigate. Of course, Mom thought, something's not up, and so Mom actually came down, grabbed her little baby and just slowly guided her around, and they're now just kind of feeding across from us at a little bit of a safer distance than I would have liked. I didn't want the baby to get too close without Mom, and so I'm glad that Mom has come and accompanied her little one. Now, the one that was giving us a bit of a trumpet, you can't really see it actually, but it's very, very close to us. It's just hiding straight behind a little bank that you can see over there. You can just see that it's back hidden behind this kind of area, and you can see sometimes how well ellies can camouflage. I mean, that elephant is 10 meters away, and you can really very barely kind of see it. If it's not for its tail sticking out behind that tree, it would be incredibly difficult to see this animal in this thicket. So it's amazing how they are able to blend and how they are kind of able to move around. Now, I'm pretty sure what we're going to get is that they're going to move off away from us and kind of down this drainage line, which is perfect. We're just going to sit tight until that does happen. So, Michael, I'm pretty sure they recognize us as something that they need to be aware of. I don't know if they can associate with human. I mean, they're incredibly intelligent animals, and so I would be very surprised if they don't know that our kind of scent is in somewhat sort of, I don't know if they lump it into one group, because obviously we all will smell slightly different. Where are you going? You can't get up there. Just Ellie's forcing its way through the thickets, trying to get up onto this bank, which is fine. We're perfectly safe where we are at the moment, with a nice big tree right next to us as well. That's kind of, we can get behind and all of that, so we're okay where we are. But look, having a little peek over the top. What are you up to? I like this elephant. It's got some character to it, if I'm honest. Mom has taken baby quite far away, which is cool. So there he comes, just kind of through the little thicket. Now, I expected them to probably cross this drainage line at some point, and finally this Ellie has done it. But you see how it's like crawling its way up, so it's having to get onto its front legs to be able to actually maneuver itself around, which is quite cool to actually see. Pretty amazing that we are witnessing all of this on foot. I mean, this would be a great sighting on a vehicle in terms of proximity, but to get this on foot, well, even better. Now that Ellie's kind of probably in all likelihood going to drift down a path that runs that way. The mom and the baby's still quite close, so you can just see the back of the baby drifting off behind me, and the mom has kind of gone round this bend, and so, we're going to wait for these guys to actually drift off a little bit further before we do anything, because otherwise we are going to disturb them. But just wondering if I can get David round. David, maybe let's try and get round this little tree for you. You might get quite a nice view on this one Ellie here. So what we're going to try and do is just try and slowly kind of stand. I don't want to move too fast, but what I'm going to do is, Dave, if you can go around this tree on that side, I'll go this way. And low, but through the gap there behind the trees you can see where that Ellie is. Isn't this cool? I'm just going to drift off slightly behind those thickets and kind of ghost away. This is absolutely amazing. We are being super spoiled by this small little group of Ellies. The rest of the Ellies I can hear are coming closer as we've been sitting, so there's still quite a few of them that are around, but it's really been a very, very, very special morning with these guys. I want to just try and see, given that those guys are on the other side there, just want to see if I can try and just looking around just to see. Now, this Ellie is going to be naughty. Don't be naughty. No. This Ellie's going to be just smelling and sniffing. It can smell us more than anything else. It's not so much our movement or anything like that, because we've hardly moved, but the wind is now shifting straight from where we are to it. So the important thing here is just to stand nice and still, just to hold your ground, and just to kind of so you can see it's kind of taken a step forward. Now all I need to do is just, if it comes forward at me, is just to basically, you'll see there's a scuff mark here. Now as it kind of came forward, all I did is kick the ground, and that scuff mark is enough for that heli to know that I'm here and that it's okay. It doesn't need to worry at all. So what we're going to do is just let it kind of carry on. We're not going to push any further than where we are now. It's no point. Off you go. We're not here to hurt you. Come on. Young bulls, they often can be the ones. So Chris, their eyesight is pretty good. Maybe not quite as good as ours, but not far off. They have quite a large eye, and so they can see pretty well. But when you're very, very still, they I think battle a little bit to kind of pick you up. But you can see now, after me scraping my foot, that that bull knows that I'm here and is now going to just kind of wander off. So we're going to let it just carry on going. We're not going to go after it or anything like that. We're going to just kind of keep letting it move, and it's going to go back to feeding, and we just have to stand still for a while and wait for him to decide when he wants to actually move off, and then we'll go the opposite direction. But the wind has really not been ideal at all. The wind is kind of messing about with us a little bit. It's come out of nowhere and it's really swirling around, so we need to be a little careful about how we do this, especially when we exit out, that we don't bump into that female with her little one. A young bull like this is much easier to stand down and to kind of sort of show yourself to than a mom with a little baby. Now Pisces, you say, sorry, I've just spotted a bird. I'll get to you now, Pisces. But David, can you get this bird straight across from me? It's not a bird we get on camera very often. If you just come straight across, there it is. You see it straight there? It's a little southern boo-boo that is jumping around from tree to tree, and we don't get great views on these guys very often, but that's very cool, isn't it? Look at that. Elephant and birding in the same sighting. How special is this? Now, Curse, can you just repeat what Pisces said, because now I've forgotten. I got a bit excited. Sorry. Yes, goosebumps indeed. You do get goosebumps doing this. I had a look over my shoulder at David just now, and he was just all teeth. He was smiling and enjoying himself immensely as we watch these Ellies go about their business. But you can see this Ellie is very kind of relaxed now again. It's starting to feed, so it's just that swirling wind that's kind of getting him a little bit kind of unsure of what's going on. Right, well, we're going to sit here very tight, wait for this Ellie to move off before we move off. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie, who seems to have battened down the hatches and has got her rain covers on.
Sorry, Trist, didn't mean to leave you holding the baby, so to speak. But we are all sorted, apart from the fact that my dashboard cover was not with the rest of my rain covers, which I obviously didn't unpack all my rain covers to check that. Anyway, we're all good. We've got ourselves covered up, and we are driving into the bizzle. What's going on here? Look at these hyenas. There's 5 of them now. Right next to the lions. A little social gathering. What's up, guys? The lions are watching them. Okay. This poor Senzo is tucked. All his stuff is now hidden under the rain covers. He's trying to find something to wipe the lens with. The only thing I can offer you, Senzo, is a tissue. But unfortunately, it's one that I cut my hand and bled on slightly. That's not very nice, but I have a tissue. Okay, there you go. Sorry. That's all I had to offer. It was no problem. Okay. It was someone left a glass in the car and it smashed and I cut my hand. There we go. There's our hyenas, all gathered together. Great excitement. I'm going to guess at a group of males. I might be mistaken. Probably Juma clan. I'm sure those of you out there who are more familiar with them. Oh, awesome. Apparently, Michael, thank you for that. Apparently one of them is Gwen's daughter, Heart. That's awesome. She was a cub when I first started here. Oh, you guys are baiting these lions. They're going to get very cross with you. What is up? Oh, look how awesome this is. They're so excited. So Heart is most likely one of the lowest ranked females in this clan. She's the one with the tatty ear then, presumably. I've lost her now. There she is. Yeah, the one with her tail up in the middle. Awesome. This is so cool. Oh, ouch. Oh, hyenas are so resilient. That one's got such a nasty wound on its bottom, on its hip, the one on the left. Where are we off to? Great excitement. Oh, I think I heard stories about the one with that injury. Wasn't it the one that was running in circles around Buffelshoek Dam? I think Liam told me about it. It was the same one that put its nose next to Tristan's leg. Cheeky. Awesome. And there's obviously been a little bit of a gathering. And now they are sniffing about, greeting. Cool. Michael, go for it. So Ntima's here, Ribbon's here, Luke is here, and is it Saka? Is that Ntima? Hey, go Sens, you legend. Last time I saw Ntima, she was a couple of days old, a couple of weeks old, I think. This is so awesome. I can't believe how Ribbon's ear's been ripped as well. That's her, isn't it? Over there. It's like, I mean, it's been completely torn away. Hey guys. So actually quite a large group of females. This is so cool. Thanks, Michael. I promise I'll catch up with... Michael's been very, very helpful with hyena IDs as I'm getting to know the Djuma clan. There's some individuals I didn't even know before I left. So I'm very grateful for that. I appreciate all your help. This is very cool. You're going to go tease the lions, guys? Don't think that'll be your smartest idea. Not your best plan. So cool. There's the one with the nasty injury. Which one's the one that's got the nasty injury? One of the boys. Anisha, keep watching, because I have to relearn. So therefore you can learn with me as we start to ID the hyenas. You're saying that you wish you could tell the difference between them. It's like anything. The more time you spend looking at them, the easier it becomes. And you start to pick up on, first of all, the easy things, like torn ears. Ribbon, for example, has got massive chunks out of her left ear. And then from there, if you carry on and you persist, you can start to spot patterns in their spots. Spot patterns in their spot patterns. Ha! Hee hee. Spot patterns in their spot patterns. There you go, there's a nice nick out of the ear. So is that Heart then, with that ear, the top of her ear torn? I'll go look at the pictures, I promise. I will learn them soon. At least there's less than there were in the Mara to learn, plus I'm familiar with them. Okay, so it's Saka who's got the nasty injury on his hip. Makes sense. He obviously either overstepped the boundary with another clan member, or perhaps he fell foul of a lion. It'd be so cool if we actually got some courtship here. The way that this hyenas respond, it's actually playing with her. It's not aggressive. A little bit nervous of her. This is very cool. That's a male sucking up. That is very cool. I wish we could follow them, because I think she's coming into estrus, and I think he wants to get to know her on a much deeper level, and perhaps create the next generation of Gwen's grandchildren. Sorry, sense. It's a little bit unpleasant out here at the moment. Oh, very cool two-shot of the lions and the hyenas. There we go. How cool is that? In the rain. Lions and hyenas in the rain. Okay, one to go. Come on. There we go. And beautiful. Thank you, hyena, for looking straight at the camera. Nicely done. Perfect. Future Rollins on lion hyena dynamics. Here we come. Okay, while we've been sticking it out here in the rain to the east, Brent has returned all the way home and put a roof on.
We have, and then we've gone to look for the little chief, but he's moved from where we left him. And I heard some squirrels alarming quite close by, so I'm gonna go have a look there. So I think if we keep with his general direction, he's gonna keep moving up the little river system towards Quarantine. So I think he's just here somewhere. I'm just having a look if we can see any tracks. Or maybe he's hiding from the rain in the shelter of the tent. I did have a look there. I didn't see anything. There's no tracks crossing the road. Ah, here comes Jim. I'm just going to move off the road for Jim. Avushen! Minjon! Oh, Vogel! John would like to know, when will Hasana start sawing? That is a question we all ask ourselves. Often, actually, and since I've been back, and with the scent marking, when is he going to start sawing, and will that be the final straw for Tingana? That is what we are waiting to find out. Sounds like a Franklin. It's a bit upset. I'm just trying to listen carefully. Seb's just going to wipe the lens. There's a bit of moisture on it. Okay, I'm going to keep checking down the road very slowly, just to make sure he hasn't snuck across the main road. So we left him just down here. If he's not in here somewhere, I think he's headed off towards the western edge of Quarantine. I just want to see if there are any tracks. Aha! Is that a track? That is a hyena track. It is not fresh either. You can see Tristan tracks. Let's have a look on the western edge of Quarantine. Franklin that was upset was just down there. Hello, Courtney is a new viewer, and Courtney is wondering, what exactly does sawing mean? Well, sawing is roaring, basically. So leopards saw, lions roar, even though a leopard saw is actually a roar. You could say it's a leopard roar, but it's called sawing because it sounds very much like someone with a very old school big saw cutting wood. So a leopard's saw or roar goes something like this. Hence the name sawing. But I think it's still it's going to be very interesting. I wait for Hasana to start, and the reaction from Tingana I think is going to be fascinating. It might be the sort of final straw for Tingana to actually push Hasana out of the area. Which will be very sad, but Tingana's got to protect his mating rights even from what is possibly his own offspring. Okay, upset Franklin was around here. Okay, well, we're gonna keep looking for our little prince. While we do that, let's send you back to Tristan, who's got some birds that are not enjoying this weather.
No, these guys are not enjoying the weather at all. So there's two green pigeons that have clumped together and are fluffed out as much as possible. They almost look like that big kind of round bird on Angry Bird game that you get on a cell phone. They're kind of fluffed out so much. But they are beautiful pigeons. I mean, of all the world's pigeons, a pigeon is not known for its beauty, but these guys are got to be one of the kind of more beautiful species that you kind of get. And they are doing this obviously because of the rain. It's not weather that birds particularly like. Feathers don't do that well in water, and so they've just kind of closed up ranks, puffed their feathers out, and that's going to be a very good insulator. So feathers are probably one of the best insulators. As we know, we use down in many of kind of things to keep us warm, and so these particular birds are just doing exactly that. They're just kind of puffing themselves up, trapping air in there, and that's being warmed up and is allowing them to actually get a bit more warm and kind of comfortable on a pretty miserable day. It's starting to get actually very miserable out here. It's the rain seems to be coming in a lot more, and it's why we kind of backed out of our early sighting as quick as we could, is to try and actually get out of the rain a bit and sort everything out and start heading a little bit closer to camp in case it really starts to come down. It looks like there's quite a bit coming from the south at the moment, which would indicate that maybe, just maybe, we're going to kind of get a bit more rain that's going to come in. So it's better that we start slowly heading kind of back up towards the camp itself. But very cool to see those guys. Always enjoy seeing green pigeons, and actually this kind of weather is the best way to see them because they tend to be a lot less flighty than they do when they're kind of sun is shining. Then they tend to get a little bit kind of busy, but it'll be nice to have a little view of them. We've had a good birding morning, funnily enough, for walk. It's walk is obviously very tricky to get birds on camera, but the bush shrike this morning and the buru, and then now these guys. Pretty satisfied with our morning's work so far. It's been a delightful actual time. Right, now I'm going to head, like I say, slowly back towards camp. The rain's starting to come in a little bit, and so while we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie, who I'd imagine has lions that look pretty miserable like these birds.
They actually don't look that miserable. Most of them seem to be quite accepting of their drizzly morning. They don't look too unhappy. I mean, they're not curled up in a ball or anything like that. I'm starting to think about it. I'm a little bit chilly, a little bit uncomfortable. The hyenas sort of wandered around a bit. They're still here, but they've moved off into the thickets. They might actually come back, I think. Right, where's that millipede? If I reposition to put my back to this horrible weather, I just want to make sure that I don't squidge him. I can't see where he is. Maybe he's moved. Oh, now the lions are up. Starting to look a little uncomfortable. No, we are time for a bathroom break. Oh, what an interesting question. Justin would like to know what is one of my favorite facts about a lion. I'm trying to think of what would be a good one. Give me a sec. I'm going to reposition because I need to put my back to this wind. It is horrible. And then I'll answer that. There's so many interesting facts about lions, but they're all sort of generic, you know. Their gestation period is... Where is that millipede? That their gestation period is, you know, 90 odd days, perhaps a little bit longer, perhaps a little bit less. I think one of the coolest things about lions, honestly... Oh! Look at this behavior from this female. As soon as that Mangeni male got up, she started growling at him. Oh, uh-oh. There we go. There we go, we're back. Sorry about that. My favorite fact, honestly, I think about lions is the fact that the estrus cycles of the females in the same pride will synchronize to the point that they always seem to have babies, almost always, all have babies at the same time, or at least 2 or 3 females will have cubs at the same time. I think that's special because it shows just how important that social connection is, and the fact that they will then allosuckle each other's cubs. Now, it might not be the most groundbreaking fact, but it is the most touching fact because it tells you just how important they are to each other. I'm sorry, Senzo. Senz is battling with the rain cover at the moment. Every time he moves, the thing bounces into the front of the lens. So please excuse us. We are battling on in trying climatic conditions. Wind, rain, or snow will bring you our live safaris. Well, maybe not snow. If it snows here, we're in trouble. Then there is a dire problem that not even a rain cover could fix. You wanted to know if the smell of lion poop is very bad or if it's more like the popcorn smell of leopard urine. No, it unfortunately does not carry with it an aroma of freshly popped popcorn in the same way that leopard urine does. It stinks. Both their urine's not terrible. I mean, it just smells like urine. But their feces or their scat is disgusting. Oof, it stinks. But that applies to leopards as well. Any predator will have a smellier, will leave behind a smellier pile of digestive remnants because of their diet. There's nothing they can do about that. They eat meat. There's a lot of stuff happening in their digestive tracts, quite disgusting, and as a result, their feces, or no, their scat, stinks. It's actually quite funny to watch. I've seen it happen on many occasions. You watch a tourist vehicle that's excited to have a lion next to them, and then it goes and it deposits a steaming pile of scat next to them. And you just watch as, row by row, they sort of collapse in astounded, sort of scent-based agony, all collapsing forwards over their laps, trying not to vomit. I've seen it happen before. First the front row, then the middle row, then the back row. I really should have worn an extra jacket. Romit. Honestly, I mean, while we're comparing smells, I don't think it's fair to say that, or to compare which scat smell their regular. Sorry about that. Back again. I was just saying, it depends on what the animal's eaten. It depends on whether or not they have diarrhea, which obviously smells worse. So I don't think it's really fair to say that perhaps lions smell worse than leopards, smell worse than cheetah. They all smell pretty bad. It just depends on the day. Typically, lions and leopards will feed on older carcasses where the meat is slightly more rotten. And the cheetah don't, not because I don't think it's because they're particularly fussy. I think it's simply because they don't want to risk other scavengers being around. They're right at the bottom of the big cat pile, so to speak, in terms of physical strength. So they don't want to get caught by the scavengers. I think that's why they don't ever really feed on older carcasses. So maybe a cheetah scat might smell marginally better. Someone's coming to join us, and I've turned my radio down. Oopsie. Okay, I'm tucking my my camera away in its bag underneath the rain covers because they're redirecting the water to it. While I sort that out, let's go over to Brent, who's apparently playing with his camera.
Yes, I'm playing with one of my old cameras actually. I haven't used it in ages. So I was just testing if it still works. It does. But I mean, this is one of my first cameras. Well, not my first camera, but I think it was my second camera. And you can see how well used it was. That I've actually sort of, from holding it, all the spots have sort of proper wear from where I used to hold it. Ta-dum! Old school. This camera is probably like 15 years old. Still a good camera. Yeah. So I was just playing with it. I haven't used it. So I was worried that the batteries have died. So popped it in, charged the batteries last night. Oopsie. So we heard a squirrel alarm calling, but Asana, I think, might have gone back towards Gallagher Pan. So just checking carefully. We've got no tracks of him crossing Vuitila access. Anisha is wondering, would a leopard ever go after a bird for a snack? Yes. Actually, one of the most spectacular sightings I ever had on Djuma was of quarantine male leopard going after guinea fowl. And he must have jumped. Oh, he jumped about 4 meters in the air to try and grab a guinea fowl, but he missed. But yes, a leopard will definitely go after a bird for a snack. Now, Seb and I were just talking about the weather and the rain, and Seb was complaining, and I was like, no, Seb, this is not rain. The Mara has rain, proper rain, often, all the time. I actually quite enjoy this misty, sort of drizzly weather.
It's the worst for the camera, though.
It's the worst for the camera. No, Seb. Thunder and lightning and torrential downpour is the worst for the camera. Drizzle, you just need to wipe the lens like Seb just did every now and then. I just want to have a quick look at tracks. I think Hassan has just gone to go sleep in this river bed somewhere. Get out of the worst of the Arla Moore says, can you imagine wildlife photography with film? Yes, actually, I'm old enough. And Sebastian's old enough. We know about wildlife photography with film. So the wonderful thing about digital is I can pick up my camera and go like this and not worry. Just wait, I can just go. Oh, I need to turn it on now. What's going on here now? and it doesn't cost me $1 a shot, which was when we used to do film photography. So also when I started, I was actually telling this my second digital camera, not my, was it my third? I can't remember. I know it was my second digital camera, that one. But when I started on film. My grandfather gave me a camera for my birthday when I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I used to have to store my film. Kirsten is trying to be funny. The year was 1924. Yes, when James was an adolescent. No, I'm joking. So it was about 14 or 15, so it would have been mid-90s. 95 or 96 is when I started taking pictures, and I had a film camera. I used to have to keep my film in the fridge as well, or in a cooler box, otherwise it used to get damaged while in Botswana. So I used to keep my film in a little cooler box with a little ice pack, and I used to keep my film in there. And I even used to have something that most people don't even know what it is these days. Sebastian, do you remember mirror lenses?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I used to have an 800mm mirror lens. The problem with an 800mm mirror lens is that you could not hold it and take a picture. You had to sort of put it on a tripod, and then you had to have your button. You plug your little button in, and then you'd sit. I remember sitting in Botswana next to a hippo pool, trying to get that perfect hippo shot, and set up the camera on the tripod, and basically sitting there with the button. And every time I thought the hippo was going to do something, and it didn't, I went tick. I was like, oh goodness, that's going to cost me money. Oh goodness, that's going to cost me money. Oh goodness, that's going to cost me money. And what were the big rolls of film? 30, 32. 32 was the biggest roll of film you could get. And I used to have, so I used to paint quite a lot, and when I was younger, I sort of ran out of time as I got older to paint. But I used to paint from my photographs, so I'd sit there and the one thing I will say about film photography is that you thought a lot more before you just went. You used to really plan your shot. Okay, oof, oof, oof. Ginger says film photography teaches you to frame better. Now, I agree with you, Ginger, but what I really think in terms of framing, from me personally, how I frame like I would paint it or draw it, which is how I frame. That's how I frame. So I think, and it's very interesting. Morning. He's somewhere around here. I can hear the squirrels, but I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll pop out now. I think he's just gone flat in this weather. So, Ginger, I think from being a painter, definitely affects the way I frame something. And it's quite interesting. Like, without seeing who took a picture, if I look at pictures from the Wild Earth crew that take pictures, without even knowing or seeing who took the picture, just from the framing and the way the picture's done, I can tell who took the picture. Very, very interesting, because everyone's got a slightly different eye. I'd say, who do you think's the easiest to tell with just seeing a picture? I think James. I can spot James's photographs from a mile away.
James likes wide.
Yeah,
Quite wide.
Kirsten says she can spot mine and Tristan's. It's obviously because we're the best. Oh, Kirsten. Kirsten says one is and the other's the worst. You mustn't be nasty about Tristan like that, Kirsten. Of course, we're just playing. Kirsten says it's because he can't hear me, so that's why she's being nasty about Tristan's photography. No, actually, Tristan and I actually had quite a long discussion yesterday afternoon about it. Colbert, excellent question. What is the toughest lighting for wildlife photography? Often people think it's weather like this, which I disagree with. Sebastian, you're welcome to weigh in whenever here. I think when you're looking straight into the sun is the toughest. When the sun's really high and really harsh, and sometimes we can only position to see an animal due to the bush with the sun right behind. And I think it's the same for video as well. That it's when the sun is really difficult. Yeah. But when oh wait, what's happening out there? But the thing is, sometimes when that lighting is at its harshest, you do get some incredible opportunities. Now, it is difficult, and you need to know your kit when you do it. But sometimes when the lighting's at its most harsh, and often we're positioned because that's the best way to see. So when the lighting's at its most harsh, that's when I go black and white. So you can see there are always opportunities, and in harsh light. Believe it or not, that's not black and white, that's color. It's just, and that was at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but the sun was just really intense. So there we go. So there are opportunities, but for me that is the most difficult light. Oh, James, that is a difficult question. Which wildlife moment am I most proud of that I caught on camera? Now, that I caught on camera with myself, or that I got a cameraman into position for? I know. I'm trying to think of it. Strangely enough, some of my favorite photographs are not photographs I share because they're not great photos, but it just reminds me of that time. I'm trying to think. Let's narrow it down to Djuma. Yes, well done, Kirsten. One of my favorite moments was definitely Kunyuma, or the Senegal bush male, if you're further to the south, when he slapped a buffalo on the bum for no reason and then just climbed up the tambuchi tree and looked down at him. Now, it happened so quickly and it was in really bad light that I hadn't had time to play with my settings and get the light correct. But I think, yeah, that was a very special moment. I've got a very, very, very blurry photograph of a big male western lowland gorilla. That was my first proper gorilla sighting after I'd been living in Gabon for a couple of months. I mean, I'd seen them sort of sneak off through the bush, and there was this little land bridge between an island, and it was dry season, so the water had dropped, and there was a little spot where there was only a tiny bit of stream where the gorillas were now crossing to get to a specific fruiting tree, and they used to panic and run away and they were not unhabituated gorillas. They're not like the mountain gorillas that come lie on top of you. So these gorillas had never seen people or dealt with people, and so over a week I'd seen that the gorillas had crossed this little patch where there was a tiny bit of water about 7 or 8 times, and I was like, okay, I'm doing this now. And I still had a really old school lens. It was a fixed 300 2.8, but only manual focus, and no automatic focus on that lens. So what I did is I cut down a whole bunch of trees and I built a little blind in that spot, and I spent 2 days there, and the gorillas started crossing, and I was fiddling with all my settings to try to get the perfect picture. And then the wind changed and the gorillas smelt me, and that big male just went as an alarm bark and ran, but I managed to snap a really blurry photograph before he disappeared. That's one of my favorite wildlife moments. In that same little hide, actually, I saw 2 different leopards, a male and a female, crossing the same little land bridge to get onto the island. And they were hunting, the leopards were after the red river hogs that were on that island. I'm trying to think. What are you shouting at, squirrel? Very upset squirrel. Hosana, as I said, but we're going very slowly because Hosana could be literally anywhere here. I haven't seen any tracks, but I've seen Jim Reeves has been up and down, so fetching guys from the gate. So he might have driven over tracks inadvertently. But yeah, no, I've had so many wonderful, wonderful moments. Yes, so many wonderful moments. Sometimes it is very good though to just put your camera down and remember to enjoy what you're seeing and not focus on taking a picture. So I think all of us do it every now and then. We just don't even take a camera with us because we just want to experience the joy of just seeing an animal and not worrying about taking pictures. But anyway, we're going to send you across to Jamie to see what her favorite picture or wildlife moment is.
Now, unfortunately, it sounds like Jamie's got some gremlins, so you are with us, and we are slowly moving back towards camp, like I was saying. But now I wanted to show you guys a tick that had bitten me, but unfortunately I dropped it, and I held it for so long, and then I dropped it, and it was because it was minuscule. It was a tiny little pepper tick that got me on the arm, and I wanted to show it to you. But as we kind of wanted to go live, I dropped it, but you can see where it bit me. It got me just on the arm over here. It's starting to go a little red, and it will start to get itchy just now. And these little guys absolutely love me. Steph and I get absolutely abused by these things. Brent, for some reason, I'm not sure why, is immune to ticks. They just don't like him at all, and so he just kind of gets away with it. But myself and Steph, we get absolutely hammered by them, and it's that time of the year, unfortunately, where we are going to start getting ticks kind of appearing more and more and more, which is not ideal. It's time for me to start scratching and kind of having legs that look like I have leprosy. Anyway. Oh, James. I mean, it's very difficult to live up to the standards set by Brent Leo Smith, and, hard to compete with a world-class photographer like Brent, and, obviously talent that just bounds from every angle. So my best moment that I've managed to capture on camera? Gee, what? I don't know. There's a few. I must be honest. It's tricky because some photos are beautiful just because everything kind of falls into place. So light and the way the kind of animal poses. Then there's others that are for memory just because of how special a sighting was. And then there's others that are just rare. So obviously the pangolin photo that I managed to kind of get into Wildlife Photographer of the Year with, it will always be a special memory, not just because it's rare to see them, but also, the way the kind of photo came out was very nice, and it got me to go to the exhibition in London and kind of meet some really interesting people and raise a bit of awareness for pangolins. So that's always got a special place in my heart, that particular photo. But sure, I don't know. I mean, like I say, I've captured some really cool ones. Kirst says my elephant photo with the mud. So I don't know if some of you might know that photo, but it's basically an elephant that was having a mud bath near Letaba in the Kruger, and the mud there is very clay based, so it gets this kind of red coloration to it. In fact, I think I might even have the photo with me, but it is one of my favorite photos too. I really do enjoy it. I'll try to see if I can find it quickly, but it's probably one of my favorites. That's and the one that I recently got of Hosana, I would imagine, would be my favorite kind of images. So I'm just trying to see if I can find it. I don't know where it is. Oh no, this is not ideal. But anyway, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. I've got some very cool photo. Oh, there it is. So there we go. This is the Ellie that we were talking about. Now, try and take that away, but essentially it's just a very dark image of an elephant with mud going down the middle of its face and kind of red tones on either side. So this was a very cool photo. I really enjoyed this photo, and it was one that, I don't know, I pretty well, I liked it. Romit, you say the gorilla photo that I took recently, yes, that did actually come out quite nicely. I quite liked that photo. Quite trying conditions, actually, to photograph a gorilla in that forest area. It was not very easy at all. So, you know, that was probably one of the nicer ones. But like I said, there's one that I got recently of Hosana that, for me at the moment, is probably my favorite leopard image I've taken, which is saying something, because I photographed a few leopards in my time, and even tiny little cubs and the likes, but this one that I got recently of him, the light was just unbelievable. We had this kind of orange glow, and we managed to get almost eye level with him, and so it almost looks like he's almost looks like a studio shot in many respects, because he's kind of posing perfectly as only Hosana can do, and he's just kind of right there with this beautiful light that just kind of matches his coat color and his eyes, and it really was one of those kind of pictures that I absolutely enjoyed, and I think that probably is one of my favorite moments that I've captured. In terms of behavior, the best thing that I've captured in behavior was a massive rhino fight that I saw at Lion Sands, which was it was quite something. I mean, we're talking about two big bull rhinos going head to head, but not just a few little pushes around, properly fighting, and the one actually pinned another one up against a tree and was horning it and trying to get into the back leg area, and was doing quite a lot of damage to that poor rhino, and the dust was just everywhere. It was in winter, and these two bulls just crashing around all over the place. It was really cool. I'll try and find that photo sometime at some point and show you guys, but it was really a very kind of special sighting, that from a behavioral point of view it was unbelievable. So, you know, there's so many things that happen out here. It's difficult to always kind of box them into one thing. Like I say, I mean, I've got sightings that are for the actual moment, and then others that are just for that specific animal. But there we go. I found the Hosana one, which is quite nice, so we'll try and show you guys the Hosana one. But he basically was posing ever so beautifully with this kind of orange background, and so it came out really well. So probably one of my favorite leopard shots that I have out of many leopard photographs. So that would probably be one of my favorites that we currently have at the moment. But anyway, I mean, you know, it's also the problem with photography is that you keep seeing new things, and you kind of end up taking new photos, and that becomes a favorite, and you know how it goes. But anyway, right, we're going to keep on going. We're going to head up towards quarantine. It seems like the rain is slowly kind of starting to settle in for the day, and so while we do that, let's send you back across to Jamie and the Sleepy Lions.
The rain's definitely subsided a little bit. We're no longer drenched, although I think I'm soaked to the bone in terms of my jacket and my clothes. Senzo disappeared underneath a poncho at one point. I couldn't even see if he was still in the vehicle or not. And the good news is that it seems to have stopped a little. What I am going to do, though, is say farewell to these sleepy lions for now and start trundling off on my way home. I think I was in the middle of answering a question about my favorite wildlife photo or moment that I'm glad I've captured on camera. I don't think I even got around to saying it before we had slight problems with gremlins. I think probably some of my rhino photos, particularly a rhino on foot. I mean, we're on foot. Obviously, the rhinos are always on foot, but not in vehicles. But I mean, from when I was on foot with rhinos, are probably some of my favorite, just because of the work and the memories associated with them, and the amount of time we spent tracking them and trying to make sure that they were kept safe. So I think those are probably my favorite photographs. I've got some somewhere. I also have treasured wildlife photos from my very first point-and-shoot camera way back, good 10 years ago, of trips to Kruger and so on, more than 10 years ago, where I've sort of just, hi guys. Oh, goodness, the man on the back smiled, Sens. He smiled. It's the same one who I waved at earlier, and he just gave me such a look. Oh, sorry. What was I talking about? Oh, yes, point and shoot. Okay, wow. Obviously changed his mind about us. Okay, we're going to say goodbye to our sleepy lions. One last look at them, and then we're going to start heading for home. We've stuck it out. I am now frozen. I would like to go and get a cup of hot chocolate. All right. right. The one thing about this weather is that it does make tracking interesting and often a lot clearer. Apparently, Brent has found something very interesting to show you.
So we've actually found something really, really interesting here. So you can see something has dug out a little tuber from the ground here, and you can see its tracks all around, and it's used its feet. You can actually see the scrape where it's dug with its feet, and it's grabbed the tuber and it's chewed on the end of the tuber. Now, I'm pretty sure this is a tall white squill. That is the tuber that has been dug out. But the question is, what animal has dug this out? So obviously this was sitting like that, and the animal has smelt it and managed to dig it out, kick it down onto the road, and chew a little bit, and probably chewed it for the water content. But the tall white squirrel is a bit noxious. There's another one that looks very similar that is even more noxious. So it looks like it's just eaten a little bit to get a bit of moisture. There's a lot of moisture. It smells a bit like potato, but I'm not going to taste it because I'm not 100% sure what it is, and some of these can be very, very noxious. So what I want to know from you is what animal has done this. And here are the tracks. What animal has dug out this little tuber? I think it's a tall white squirrel. I'm not 100% sure, that's why I'm not tasting it. That could be bad for me. But it's used its hooves to dig it out. And I'll give you a hint to what animal this is. It is the only carnivorous antelope. So it is the only antelope we get in the Sabi Sands that has been recorded hunting and killing and eating baby birds. So that is your clue to what has dug out that tuber. Well, apparently a lot of you are preempting and saying porcupine or aardvark, but neither of those have hooves and are not antelopes. So I think I shouldn't have told you it was a carnivorous antelope. That sort of makes it a bit too easy. Yes. Well done, Dash Dash and Michael. It is, of course, a grey duiker. So the only other antelope that'll dig out bulbs like that is a steenbokkie, but it wasn't a steenbok. Steenbok have much sharper hooves, whereas the duiker have a rounded hoof and a wider hoof. So that was a grey duiker that dug out that bulb, where steenbok do it. It's one of the places that steenbok get a lot of their water content from, is digging out bulbs, because of course they are not water dependent. They don't need to drink. They will drink, like a lot of the non-water dependent animals will drink when it's available, but they don't have to drink to survive. Now, we were chatting about Gabon a little bit earlier, and Seb and I were chatting about Gabon off air as well, because I think we're the only two people who've actually been to Gabon. Seb grew up in Gabon. He's a Gabonese. And we're chatting about Gabonese. Sorry. And we actually spent a bit of time in a similar area. We were talking about the Ferdinand Vaz. There's a gentleman that we both know. I'm not going to say his name for fear of embarrassing him, who believes in the Kulikamba. Seb, do you know what a Kulikamba is? Course, yes. You know who I'm talking about as well. So he's actually a wonderful man, and he was very good to me while I lived in Gabon. I got to stay in his beach house, and it's a place I saw Atlantic humpback dolphin. There's less than like 4,000 left in the world, but I saw them. Believes that there's such a thing as a Kulikamba. A Kulikamba is the Gabonese version of a Bigfoot, basically. It is a bipedal ape that only lives off the Ferdinand Vaz. The Ferdinand Vaz is a massive lagoon, basically. Or no, the Ferdinand Vaz is behind the lagoon. Yeah. Or I think the lagoon's also called the Ferdinand Vaz. Yeah, I think it's part of the lagoon. Yeah. So there's some very remote forests off this lagoon, and when I say lagoon, I'm not talking like a nice little lagoon that you can walk around. I mean, you can sail a steamship up this lagoon. You can sail massive boats. It's probably twice the size of the Sabi Sands. 130,000 hectare lagoon. Really good barracuda fishing in the Ferdinand Baz and tarpon. But at the back end, this gentleman that Sebastian and I both know believes that the Kulikamba lives. Now, the Kulikamba is a bipedal ape, and he believed in this Kulikamba so much. I made the mistake the first time I ever went to stay with him. Oh, hello. Look, it's a Kulikamba wildebeest. Hello, Gnu. Nice to have the willies back. They're going to be giving birth in not too long. Well, he's not. It actually looks like it is a little bachelor group. He's going to be a very big boy when he gets a bit older. That one we're looking at. And he's going to start competing. Maybe chase away Gnorman and co. Maybe he'll take over the spot down at Cheetah Plains. So I know he's a young male, and he's really a big male, because if you look at the horns, there's still hair on the boss. He's still blonde as well, shampies. But he's actually going to be a very big boy when he's a bit older. Anyway, we're going to keep moving and keep chatting about the Kulikamba. So, before we chat about the Kulikamba, it's a spa day for that impala. He's got 4 oxpeckers. Oh, pole in the way. And the oxpeckers have flown off. He had 4 oxpeckers on him. She's very pregnant, the one in front of us. So, sometime in November is normally when we get the first impala babies. And she is very pregnant. Okay. Yes, the Kulikamba. Back to the Kulikamba. The Kulikamba is a bipedal ape that's supposed to live off the very isolated forests off the Ferdinand Vaz Lagoon. And it's supposed to be about my height, so about 6'3", 6'4", and walk upright. And this gentleman that Sebastian and I both know, he believed in it so much, he collected what he thought were skeletons of the Kulikamba. And everyone told him, no. I nearly said his name. I stopped myself there. No. It is not a Kulikamba. You have mixed up gorilla and chimpanzee bones. They don't go together. You can't put a chimpanzee skull on a gorilla vertebrae. Anyway, he told everyone that they were mad. So he spent a huge amount of money sending his Kulikamba skeletons off to France to get verification by primate experts in laboratories, and they came to the same conclusion that everyone else did, that he had mixed up chimpanzee and gorilla bones. Anyway, he obviously disagrees with all the experts and everyone else, and still believes that the Kulikamba lives in the forests of the Ferdinand Vaz. Sebastian and I are trying not to laugh, and yeah, that's why we can't say his name. He is so adamant though. Like, he literally, you can say, but listen, look, this, I can see this as a no. Kulikamba lives in the Ferdinand Vaz. But we've been there, and there's tracks. There's gorillas, there's chimps. Yes, there's not a 6'4" bipedal ape. So the Kulikamba is actually a legend from the Miene tribe, which is the local tribe on the Ferdinand Vaz, and it is said to kill people. When I first heard the story of the Kulikamba, it reminded me, if those of you have read Michael Crichton, Congo, the book, and actually I had a rare treat while I was on leave. Randomly on TV, Congo came on, and I remember being absolutely terrified by that movie as a child. Those grey gorillas that beat people to death. So when I first heard the stories of the Kulikamba, it made me think of the guardians of King Solomon's mines from Michael Crichton's Congo. But Yes, I really wish the Kulikamba was real. It would be awesome that there was another great ape species living in Africa that no one had found. Unfortunately, there isn't a Kulikamba. Like there isn't a Bigfoot, and I know it's probably going to annoy some people, and there isn't a Yeti. So the Kulikamba is the African version. Well, we're going to send you across to a big man with strangely small feet who's on bushwalk.
Well, Leo Smith, what a treat he is, isn't he? On absolute fire this morning. Wonder what Leo Smith got up to last night. Anyway, we're kind of slowly heading home at the moment, and well, thankful that the rain has actually stopped, to be honest. It's kind of cleared quite nicely. Earlier when we were walking up towards quarantine, you could hardly see it. It was so misty, and there was kind of this low hanging drizzle, which was horrendous at the best of times, and is now kind of lifted quite nicely, and so it's actually dried up a little bit, which is very, very good, and it's quite thankful for that. It's been a little quiet though as we've walked back. I thought we might catch a couple impalas or wildebeest or something, maybe going and having a drink. Even though it's a cool morning and it's rained a little bit, you'd still think that there'd be animals that might need water, but alas, there hasn't really been. There's also been very few birds since then. Been looking around trying to see any raptors that might be a little bit soggy sitting on a branch trying to dry off, but no signs of them at all. The only good signs that we've had is the fact that we've got swallows that are flying about, and we've got green tree leaves on the marulas at the moment. And the swallows that we've got flying around, most of these are lesser striped swallows, and you can hear them calling every now and then, and so they arrive and sitting up in the tree itself, kind of on that marula. I don't know if you can see them, David. You see them all sitting there, which is quite nice. So nice to see some of the swallows back. I've seen red-breasted quite a lot at Buffelshoek Dam. Waiting for the mosque swallows at Chitwa. We'll try and go and have a look and see if we can find them there. They often come down towards Chitwa Dam. There's a pair that lives around that side, so we'll go look for them soon. But very nice to have them kind of around. I haven't seen any barn swallows yet, to be honest, or European swallows. I'm waiting for them, actually, thinking about it, that they haven't quite arrived just yet. I mean, we are in sort of middle of October, so just trying to think, it's about the right time now for all the cuckoos to be here. A little bit early still for woodlands, given that we've had quite a dry sort of time of it, so I think woodlands we'll probably see early to mid-November, and then we start to see the redback shrikes and the carmine bee-eaters all arriving sort of in December, and the European rollers, they'll all come in December and have quite a short stay here before they head off back north again. So, you know, it'll be soon. So Louise has given out the first bet for the woodland kingfisher. Now, Kirsty, what is going to be the prize this year? We actually have to have a proper prize. What is it going to be? And who are we going to ask to do it? Oh, David, come look here. A what, sorry? A bar of gold. A gold coin, a Kruger Rand. But look what I have found here. Now, that looks like an innocuous piece of grass, but that is actually an insect that is sitting there. Sorry, the wind is blowing quite a bit, but if you look here, between these two grass sort of stems is the legs, there's the body, and then the antenna coming past, and you can even see a drop of water on this particular grass. Kind of, it's the same as a stick insect, but it's just the grass variety. Now I'm trying to hold this grass stalk steady for you, David, but it's a bit tricky because the wind has come up and is blowing and making it pretty hard. Not too bad. Are we doing all right, David? Excellent. Okay, so a bar of, or a Kruger Rand for the winner of the Kingfisher Challenge. I'm going to go, David, do you want to hazard a guess? Sure. What date? The 18th of November. Oh, David, that's a good day to have gone with. A little bit after Louise. I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to go a little earlier. I think I'm going to go, tricky one because I'm on leave, I think, in November, so I don't want to be away when it happens, so it needs to be, I'm going to go with the 13th. Did I say the 13th already, Kirsty? Okay, so we did do this. I've forgotten completely. Apparently, I've said the 13th, James the 14th, and Steve the 15th. But no changes. You can't do changes. Once you've committed, you must commit to your date and be steadfast in your kind of guessing work. And so, all right, so 11, 13, 14, 15, and 18. Ooh, David, you're on the back end here, buddy. You might be right. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not... Oh, Brent, I'm pretty sure will have a date, and obviously Jamie too. And so it will be interesting to kind of hear what they have. But we'll have to do a crew-wide piece of paper that everybody can't change their dates, because otherwise, I'm knowing Brent, he'll say, no, that's not what he said. He said this date. So we'll have to get that right. We'll also have to do first Impala lamb. That's always a good kind of challenge to have. And yeah, those are probably the two that we do most years, and try and kind of get those right. Anyway, it is that time though. We're slowly wandering off back to camp. It's time for breakfast, which I'm sure many of the crew will appreciate this morning after Taylor's farewell last night. And so while we head off there to try and get breakfast, we're going to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you've had a wonderful time with us. It's been an action-packed morning. Lots of lions about, Hosanna made an appearance, and an epic sort of elephant sighting on foot. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like I say, I hope you have a wonderful day further, and we'll see you all this afternoon on our Sunset Safari.